You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2322 2322 Chapter 504 Alliance formed, Xingyu Qi Qiu subscribe, 5. No matter how many spots there are, it's not enough. The more spots, the better. I've said before that we'll prepare according to 800 people. However, we'll need to select around 1,000 people to choose from. The great Qin king looked at the invincible generals and generals below and said slowly, the 36 manors are no longer divided according to strength. One manor has 30 people. Just as he said that, an invincible voice said faintly, Great Qin king, will the two great sacred lands of the human realm be rebuilt? Will there still be spots for the sacred lands? The sacred lands were gone. Soon, someone laughed and said, why don't we decide according to the number of eternity? One eternity will choose 20 people. This way, we can meet the number of people we need. The number of invincible humans was now 49. In fact, there were several 3 incarnations that had been killed, more than 50. As soon as these words were said, the great Qin king said lightly, then what about the eternal fallen Great Wu? Give them some extra quotas. The Great Wu, Great Wei, Great Chen, and Great Qi 4 great manors can give an extra 10 quotas each. If there are too many people, then we can make arrangements later. The great Qin king was silent for a moment, then he looked at the great Zhou king and said, Old Zhou, what do you say? The great Zhou king smiled lightly and said, don't ask me. The great Zhou manor has more eternity, so it's not good for me to express my opinion. 4 people. Of course, there were 3 people from the great Ming manor, 3 from the great Xia manor, and 2 from the great Qin manor. He was the only one in the manor who had spoken previously, so it wasn't really for personal gain, it was just that he felt that there was no need to be too conflicted about the matters of the Holy Land. They would be split according to the number of invincible people. The spots were still very precious. As for those who were afraid of death, there would definitely be some, but they would try their best not to choose. The great Qin king thought for a moment, then looked at the Tianzhu king and said, Tianzhu, what do you think? The Tianzhu king smiled and said, sure. The sacred land is gone, and the spots given to the sacred land in the past are not easy to split now. Those of us who do not have a mansion cannot be split according to the number of people who have a mansion. We can split it according to the number of people. The Tianzhu king could barely represent these unrivaled people who hadn't opened a prefecture. The great Qin king nodded and said, then let's do it this way. 1 eternal, 20 spots. I hope that the people you have chosen can bring back some of the things we need. This time, the human race's resources have been exhausted. It's all thanks to the 10,000 heavenly saints. Yu Wudi coldly harumphed. This hurdle wouldn't be so easy to overcome. Now, they would not be able to find the 10,000 heavenly saints. In fact, even if they did, it would be difficult for them to do anything to the 10,000 heavenly saints. The great Qin king pretended not to hear anything. He continued, everyone, please confirm the spots as soon as possible. Confirm the candidates. The younger they are, the more talented they are. The Starry Sky manor favors geniuses. The geniuses of the various manors should not hide their talents. They are not geniuses that have come out of nowhere, to be honest, they are all just pretty pillows. How many of those who didn't kill in the heavens or become famous have attained immortality? Zhu Tianfang. Someone teased, isn't that guy immortal? The great Qin king also laughed, that's true, but, from what I can see, this Zhu family kid has probably been impersonating others and killing them in secret. Look at how sneaky he is, killing dozens of sun and moon members of the heaven hunting pavilion in one go. You can tell that he's not necessarily kind-hearted. He might have sneaked into the heaven hunting pavilion long ago and started off as a black-faced white-faced person. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. At that moment, the great Zhou king said, then Lu City. Lu City. When the great Qin king heard this name, he hesitated for a moment. He said, "This, southern borderless, you can go and ask. If you need spots, they don't want yours, you can take a few from the great Qin manor. There probably won't be many people from Lu City." In the crowd, southern borderless nodded silently. He didn't say anything else. Niu Baidao, who had just returned from the ancient city, laughed and said, "Great Qin king, have the various races invited Su Yu and the others?" The great Qin king shook his head. Niu Baidao laughed and said, "Then I think the spots allocated by the alliance might not be accurate. Since he created the ancient city alliance, he definitely wants a share. He asked for 100 spots before. Now, the half-emperor city has come out. I think that if we don't give him the quotas, there will be more trouble." The great Qin king nodded slightly and said, "This. Let's see what the immortal dragon god and the others say. Even if the ancient city obtained the quotas, they might not be able to pick a suitable candidate. There aren't too many top-notch geniuses. Could it be that the city lords will personally go on stage?" He thought for a moment and shook his head. "Let's follow Su Yu. Everyone, this matter has been put on the agenda. Everyone, go back and prepare. In addition, there are some people in the army who might not be too talented. I hope that everyone can think about it. Talent, tenacity, experience, and killing intent are all very important. It doesn't have to be a peerless genius." Everyone nodded. The matter was finally settled. It was time to completely confirm the quota. Prepare for the Starry Mansion. Very soon, the news spread throughout the entire human realm. The once-in-a-decade trip to the Starry Mansion had begun once again. According to the previous year's situation, the candidates should have been prepared a few months ago. However, there were many changes in the human realm this year. Very soon, it would be the 352nd year of the Anping calendar. It was time to officially confirm the candidates for the Starry Mansion. For a time, the Starry Mansion became the topic of discussion in the heavens. Even Su Yu's side was suppressed. P.S. I've written some small essays recently. Try your best to adjust your state. This is considered the middle stage. During this period, the main character will set a life goal and strive for it. It's not aimless. This needs to be slowly shaped and sketched out. There's a little trouble. Go, Eagle. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2323. 2323 Chapter 505, Nine-Leafed Lotus 1. Human Realm. The heavens were in turmoil and the human realm was in chaos. To many people, all of this was already in the past and was still very far away from them. However, when the news of the Starry Sky Mansion's opening spread out, all the manors were in an uproar. The battle for the quotas. This was also the highest number of human realm quotas in hundreds of years. One invincible person, 20 people. Great Xia Mansion. After experiencing a huge upheaval, a large number of experts died in battle. Currently, the Great Xia Mansion's strength was a little weak. However, the number of invincible people had increased. The loss of the younger generation wasn't too great. At this moment, the battle for the spots had begun. The declining Great Xia Civilization Academy. From today onwards, the battle for the spots had begun. As Bai Feng left and Su Yu left, a new generation rose up. The Great Xia Civilization Academy was different from the previous years. On the stage, Zhou Hao was like a demonic beast in the wilderness. His movements were extremely fast, and his killing intent shook the heavens. His figure flashed as he used his hand as a claw. With a poochie sound, his claw grabbed onto the opponent's chest, and blood splattered everywhere. A soaring realm teaching assistant fell to the ground with a bang sound, and fresh blood continuously dripped from his mouth. In the surroundings, some experts frowned slightly. Ji Hong watched silently. He was temporarily taking over the position of the head of the academy and was in charge of the Great Xia Civilization Academy. This was also the Great Xia Civilization Academy that had been rebuilt after the three great academies had merged. Director Ji, this Zhou Hao, has quite the killing intent. An old man beside him smiled and said, he's a good seedling to join the army. I'm afraid that he'll be ruthless on the inside and cowardly on the outside. There are quite a few examples like this. It was commonly known as the saying, a tyrant in the nest. In the human realm, one's attacks were ruthless and decisive. When one reached the heavens, one would be wary of this and that. When they encountered gods and devils, they would feel inferior. Usually, such ruthless people would become weaklings in the heavenly battlefield. Therefore, when he saw Zhou Hao's ruthless attacks, the old man did not say anything. He was only worried that such ruthlessness would only be directed at the human race. Ji Hong nodded slightly, he said calmly, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a mule or a horse, we'll know once we pull him out for a walk. Zhou Hao's progress is very fast. Currently, his physical body has already completed 18 casts. When the starry mansion opens, he might be even stronger, count him in. Everyone nodded slightly. Although Zhou Hao was only at the soaring stage, 18 casts was not considered too weak. If Su Yu did not leave, it would be counted that this batch of students had already entered the academy for a year and a half. And this batch had many monstrous geniuses. However, it was a pity that it was unknown if these people were unlucky or too lucky. They were in the same batch as Su Yu, and their brilliance was completely eclipsed by Su Yu. Of course, the Great Xia Manor also had unique conditions. The Battle of the Southern Elements. In that battle, too many sun, moon, and invincible experts had died. The vitality and willpower around the southern elements were frighteningly rich. Recently, many geniuses had been cultivating there, and their improvement speed was extremely fast. It was frighteningly fast. Moreover, the ruins created by Su Yu had not been destroyed. The heaven vitality and other things were all there. Ji Hong said slowly, when the selection of people is confirmed, the southern elements' ruins will open again. To them, it's a chance to strengthen themselves. The southern Yuan ruins had been temporarily sealed. Many sun-moon realms had died there as well. Now, the concentration of Yuan Qi in the entire Great Xia Manor, including the concentration of willpower, had increased by a lot. The group of pavilion elders all nodded. The merger of the three great academies' pavilion elders was only comparable to the number of Great Xia's civilization academies back then. In the previous battle, more than half of the pavilion elders had died. Ji Hong said a few words and turned to look at Wu Yuehua, who was not far away. He said, Chief Wu, has that girl Wu Qi recovered from her injuries? Wu Yuehua did not even raise her head. Almost. Her strength will increase by another step. It seemed that she was sending a message. It had been going on for a long time. On the side, Jia Dequan was actually Jia Mingjun. He sent a voice transmission with a smile. Don't ask her. Recently, she has been holding the voice transmission talisman and not letting go. She has been monitoring the movements of Willow City. She is almost going to kill her way to Willow City. Just as he said that, Wu Yuehua suddenly raised her head and said, that, this time, lead a team to the Starry Manor. I want to lead a team there. Ji Hong hesitated and said, your main goal now is to break through to the sun and moon. I think you will soon. No, I want to go to the celestial battlefield. Wu Yuehua refused. I want to go to the celestial battlefield. You don't care whether I break through or not. If I don't go now, someone will be gone. Ji Hong was helpless. At the side, Jia Dequan teased, Wu Manor Head, the Marquis is currently recuperating. Why don't you go with him when he comes out of seclusion? Wu Yuehua looked at him silently. After a long while, she said, Waiter Xia is still considered a man this time. Unfortunately. I heard that he is about to die. He is still crying and crying. I think you will only dare to do such a man's thing once in his life. If you like it, you can learn from the blue sky and change your personality. Marry him. Jiada was completely speechless. This woman didn't seem to be lacking in her ability to criticize others. Jiada didn't pay any more attention to her. He looked at the arena and saw that there were people coming up to the stage continuously. Most of them were in the soaring stage. Jiada looked at them for a while, he nodded slightly and said, "For the soaring stage, this year's 350-year competition is indeed outstanding. Zhou Hao, Hu Qiusheng, Wan Mingze, Xie Chan, Xia Huyo, all of them are extremely strong. Even the director's daughter, Xiao Meng, isn't weak either." As he spoke, he frowned slightly and said, "If it's Ling Yun, where did Lu Hong go? He is one of the few people who made the heaven hunting list." With him around, along with Wu Qi, Xia Yuan, and Huang Teng from Zhangjing College. They are all geniuses who made the list. These people were all very powerful. As he spoke, he hesitated for a moment before saying, "Also, are you considering letting Hu Wenxing go? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 23-24 23-24 Chapter 5059 Leaf Lotus 2 Hu Wensheng, the genius who was defeated by Bai Feng in one strike, was Zheng Yuming's disciple. This time, Zhou Mingren was dead, but Zheng Yuming was still alive. This powerhouse who had his physical body broken had returned from the vanguard camp. After that, he did not choose the same path as Zhou Mingren. Instead, he chose to participate in the Battle of the Southern Yuan. He was a very smart person. In other words, he and Zhou Mingren had already seen through something. It was just that the master and disciple had chosen a different path in the end. Zhou Mingren knew that he would definitely die, but he still chose not to participate in the battle because he had already made preparations. If he did not die, the reorganization of the Great Xia Civilization Academy and the reform would probably be a little difficult. As for Zheng Yuming, after the battle, he chose to go into seclusion and did not come out again. He was so low-key that it made people's hair stand on end. The reason why this person stayed behind might be to preserve the inheritance of this lineage. Ji Hong thought for a moment and said, "If he comes alone and can win the quota, then we won't stop him. Even if he doesn't come, we won't give him the quota." Jiada nodded his head. This time, the Great Xia Manor has quite a number of quotas. If we include the quotas of the 3 generations, there are a total of 60 quotas. The manor head's meaning was to give out 50 quotas first and leave the rest for reserve. Or let some experts participate. 50 quotas are enough. At this point, he was somewhat conflicted as he said, "But what the manor head is saying is that before we enter the Starry Manor, it's best to let these fellows gain some experience and go to the heavenly battlefield to fight for a few months. Wouldn't it be too dangerous for those who survive to go to the Starry Manor?" Ji Hong calmly said, "We'll have to experience it sooner or later. Rather than being killed in the Starry Manor and wasting the quota, we might as well experience the might of the geniuses of the heavens outside." "All right then." Jia Dequan didn't say anything else. He thought of someone and sighed, "I wonder if that brat will enter. What a pity. If Su Yu was here, he would have a trump card to use when he entered the Starry Manor. He was incomparably powerful. Su Yu who could truly fight against the geniuses of the heavens." The others, including Huang Teng, were all still young. As for the previous generations, there weren't any geniuses who were too monstrous. They were all well behaved. After calculating, there were a few who rose up in the military. For example, Chen Long. Although he only cultivated the military's cultivation techniques, he improved quickly and his battle prowess was strong. He was filled with killing intent and had rich experience. He was someone who had truly fought his way up from the ranks of soldiers. Ji Hong shook his head and didn't think about him. Instead, he looked at the arena and slowly said, Wan Mingze also wants to participate. As for his side, once he enters, I'm afraid that he will be ostracized by some people. Wan Tiansheng had left, but the Wan family was still there. Wan Mingze had previously wanted to seek justice for Wan Tiansheng. This was unacceptable to many people. Wan Mingze went to the heavenly battlefield and the starry manor. Perhaps there would be people on the human realm side who would target him. Jia Dequan smiled and said, it's fine as long as the great Xia manor doesn't target him. As for the others, do as you please. This fellow isn't someone to be trifled with. Everyone should also consider whether he's the next manor head Wan. External sage, internal, was he a demon? No one knew. At this moment, on the stage, Wan Mingze's opponent was an old veteran who had soared into the air. However, against Wan Mingze, he was immediately imprisoned. Wan Mingze's strongest technique against outsiders was the Tao of imprisonment. All divine runes were prepared for imprisonment. His divine aperture had opened up quite a bit, and there were also many divine runes. At this moment, the person who had soared into the air was completely immobilized by him, and his eyes were filled with confusion. Wan Mingze had only been imprisoned for a moment, but very soon, he had let go again. That imprisoned person who had soared into the sky was just about to erupt once more, when he was imprisoned again. After repeated attempts, that person had no choice but to give up and admit defeat. Ji Hong and the others were all watching. After watching for a while, Wu Yuehua suddenly frowned and raised her head to look at Wan Mingze. Is there something missing from this kid? The few of them looked at her. Wu Yuehua frowned and said, his dream of establishing that so-called Youth Alliance army is not bad. His ideas are very good and his methods are not weak either. However, the path of cultivation is always soft. How can he continue to convince the masses? After saying that, she continued, compared to Su Yu or Huang Teng, Wan Mingze seems to lack some lightning-quick methods. Ji Hong watched for a while and slowly said, lightning-quick methods, if he doesn't make a sound, he'll already amaze everyone. Now, perhaps it's not the time yet. I don't believe that Manor Head Wan's family will only know how to be gentle. Wan Tiansheng, who had turned into a devil after killing, would only know how to be gentle with his grandnephew. Ji Hong remained undecided. The few of them didn't say anything else and continued to watch. One genius after another stood out and followed Wan Mingze to step into the human realm. Jiang Mu, who was once the top 100 rankers, Zhang Hai, who had worked with Su Yu and even joined the association, Zhang Hao. Even though these people were all newbies, and most of their abilities were concentrated between the 3rd to 6th level of the sky, not even in the later stages, they were all very powerful. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Hao of the Divine Talisman system exploded over 100 divine talismans. They weren't ordinary divine talismans, but divine talismans mixed with the blood essence of soul-devouring bugs. They were extremely corrosive, and they were able to put Su Yu's theory into practice. If these fellows were able to get a spot and cultivate in the Southern Origin ruins for a period of time, the Great Xia Mansion would allocate some resources. Even if they could not enter Lingyun, it would not be a big problem for them to step into the high altitude. The main reason was because of Su Yu. A portion of Su Yu's 5 elements divine art had been popularized. Many people began to open their divine apertures when they were in the recuperation stage. As long as their willpower and divine runes could keep up, they would be able to step into the high altitude and even Lingyun very quickly. Su Yu's acupoint fusion technique also allowed the fighter to quickly pass through the 10,000 stone realm. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2325 2325 Chapter 505, Nine-Leafed Sky Lotus 3. The effects of the cultivation techniques were showing. It had been almost a year since Su Yu introduced these cultivation techniques. These cultivation techniques were now forgotten by many experts, but they had produced earth-shaking changes in the human realm. A large number of geniuses had emerged. Now, if a warrior did not open up more than 100 openings, they would be embarrassed to say that they were a warrior. And the most coincidental thing was that recently, the vitality of the human realm had flourished. After killing a large number of experts, the vitality had spread. In addition, the cultivation techniques were better than before. Those who were lucky had even broken through realms consecutively after those invincible experts had fallen. Danger was also an opportunity. In the Great Xia Manor, where everything was flourishing, the younger generation continued to produce geniuses. In the past, it was difficult even to break through to the 4th or 5th level of the Yuan opening realm. Now, many students from medium-sized academies were able to step into the Qianjun realm very quickly. The rich vitality had caused this scene today at the price of the deaths of many invincible experts. The Great Xia Manor was selecting people, and the Great Ming Manor was also selecting people. It was just different from the Great Xia Manor. The Great Ming Manor also had many spots this time. Including Niu Bendao, there were a total of 60 spots. In the past, the Great Ming Manor only had 10 spots, but there were suddenly a few dozen more. This was why Zhu Tiandao had a headache. There were too many people, and this wasn't good either. 60 spots. Previously, they had decided on 10 spots, but now, there were suddenly so many spots. What should they do? Daming Manor had too many salted fish. If you let these people go out and fight, they might not be able to do it. Of course, the path of the fighter could choose more people. But civilized masters, they had to go there no matter what. In the city lord's manor. Zhu Tiandao stroked his chin for a long time. He looked at the people below and said, among the younger generation of Daming Manor, there are a few who are powerful, but the number is too small. 60 spots will definitely not be used up. If it really can't be done. In any case, it's best not to waste the spots. Why don't we go to some old people? It's a little dangerous, but it's better to gamble once than to wait for death. Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, our prefecture isn't powerful because of the young people, but because of the old people. The older they are, the more popular they are. This time, the human realm might take a gamble. They won't continue to wander around the lower 3 levels, but want to enter the middle 3 levels or even the upper 3 levels. If we send more old people, it'll be safer than before, and the chances will be higher. As he spoke, he glanced at these people and said with a smile, Elder Hu, why don't you set an example? Hu Xianqing stroked his white beard with a face full of disappointment. As expected, I guessed it. All of you are staring at me. Other people's big manors are busy choosing young people, but our big manors are busy choosing old people. It was really frustrating. Zhu Tiandao smiled and said, I have to go where I have to go. Old people should go more often. In any case, they won't be able to live for long. Let's gamble for once. Hu Xianqing said dejectedly, I can go, but can Manor Head give me some subsidies and let me build another teleportation portal? At least I can save my life. Teleportation portal. When Zhu Tiandao heard that, he immediately smiled and said, you went to look for Old Bull. Didn't you help him kill a quasi-invincible expert? He was like that too. He only got the carrier. He should at least give you some, right? If he doesn't give it to you, that would be too much. Don't mention it. Hu Xianqing said faintly, I went to look for him. The key is that he said that he can't be the head of the household now and can't make the decision. All of his belongings have been taken away by Yi Hongyan. Then what should I do? There was no way to say. Yi Hongyan had returned. Now, all of Niu Bendao's assets were controlled by Yi Hongyan. Hu Xianqing couldn't even get a single hair from her. Zhu Tiandao couldn't help but laugh. Hu Xianqing then said, oh right, that little girl from the Wu family. No, both of them want to go. Manor head, this is a troublesome matter. I don't dare to rashly agree to it. Give me an idea. Wuxia and Wulan. Wuxia had been sent here during the previous battle. Lu Wenyan and the others didn't bring Wuxia along when they left because the heavenly battlefield was definitely much more dangerous than the Daming Manor. Now, the Daming Mansion was about to become a safe haven. Zhu Tiandao also had a headache. This is indeed difficult to handle. As for the quotas, we do have them. It's not a big deal to give out two. The key is that these two have just entered the sky. If they go, they will be courting death. It was very troublesome. Even if they only entered the lower 3 levels, they wouldn't be able to survive if they didn't have the strength to enter the sky. In the past, the lower 3 levels of the human realm were the main force. Under normal circumstances, they would choose Ling Yun as the main force to enter. Although Wulan and Wuxia were from the multi-divine literature department and both had divine literature combat skills, their physical bodies were actually not weak. They were slightly stronger than divine literature. However, they were still too weak compared to those geniuses and didn't have much combat experience. These two had a deep relationship with Su Yu. One chased from the Great Xia Mansion to the Daming Mansion, while the other was senior sister Su Yu. Thinking of this, Zhu Tiandao thought for a moment and said, for this matter, we have to first consult with Lu City's side. How about this, we bring them to Lu City first. Those fellows in Lu City don't have any objections, so we can talk about it later. Otherwise, we can only bring them to Lu City at most. As he said this, he added, in addition, Bai Junsheng and Chui Lang have to go. I think Su Yu definitely has to go. Let's see if we can get some benefits. I also want to go, but it's a pity, now that I'm out, there are probably countless people staring at me. He said it with some resentment and helplessness. *CK. I didn't kill 4 unrivaled warriors. Now that everyone thought about it, they all knew that I wasn't that capable. Unfortunately, even if they knew, those people still had to stare at me now. Nowadays, there weren't many people who had the hope of attaining Dao in the human realm. He was the original Xia Shower, and Xia Shower's body had been destroyed. Even if he recovered, it would be difficult. He and Yun Chen were now the targets of the 10,000 clans. Killing one quasi-unrivaled warrior was much easier than killing an unrivaled warrior. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2326. 2326 Chapter 5059 Leafed Sky Lotus 4. Zhu Tiandao was extremely resentful as he spoke, then, he said, in addition, bring Su Yu's demonic beasts with him. If it's not for him, it would be a waste of resources to stay here to eat, drink, and shit. This really won't do. It doesn't matter if I kill it or eat it. It's all fattened up now. I passed by 2 days ago and saw that swan and I. It's fatter than when Su Yu wasn't around. It was so fat that he wanted to eat it. The swan and I was well groomed. Since Su Yu wasn't around, no one cared about it. The research institute didn't lack resources. Wulan and Wuxia didn't have much of an understanding of these things. When they saw that fellow constantly complaining about being hungry, they would throw some food at it from time to time. After a few months, it had become much fatter. Hu Xianqing couldn't help but laugh. Very quickly, he said, Manor head, if there are still more spots, I think it's better to take out a few more and give them to some demon clans that are raised in captivity. For example, the Rotary Turtle clan. I can give them a few. As for the Iron-Eating clan, I think we can give them a few as well. The spots were still very precious. Small tribes were hard to come by. In the past, these spots had been taken by a few powerful tribes and then given to some of the subsidiary tribes. There had never been many spots for the human tribe. This time, the human tribe should be able to get quite a few, so they could give some to others. Zhu Tiandao nodded, that's fine. In addition, I probably won't be able to lead a team over this time. Each tribe should have an invincible escort. If you go to the heavenly battlefield, tell old Nyo that we should try our best to act alone in the daming manner. Be careful. Alright. The allocation of the daming prefecture's quotas was simple and easy. There weren't too many twists and turns. A few days later, the human realm quotas were almost set. The various clans were doing their best to help these people become stronger. They wanted to have the ability to compete with the experts of the other clans when they entered the Starry Palace. This time, the human clan hoped to obtain more good things, instead of the small fights in the past. The myriad races were all preparing. The once-in-a-decade trip to the Starry Manors was also the best way for the myriad races to obtain resources. The Starry Manors were like a treasure that wouldn't dry up. Each time they entered, they would more or less obtain some benefits. Including the current load, heavenly weapons, cultivation techniques, and various divine fruits, many of them were obtained from the Starry Manors. Even the dragon blood fruit tree that Suyu obtained himself flew out from the Starry Mansion. The myriad clans were making preparations. As for Suyu, he had successively taken control of the 4 great ancient cities, Xinghong, Hongmeng, Yunshao, and Yuhong. Initially, he had wanted to continue helping Tianmi lighten his burden, but in the end, Suyu realized that the pressure of the aura of death was a little too great. After thinking for a moment, he gave up temporarily. In any case, Tianmi was not in a hurry. In addition to Yunxiao's warning, it was best not to take over the ancient city of Tianmi for the time being. This fellow, Tianmi, was very active and might run around randomly. If he ran around randomly, once he was released, he might end up like an animal called a husky, so you had better not care about Tianmi for the time being. Otherwise, there was a very high probability that Suyu would have to bear the death aura for Tianmi from now on. Because of this, and because Suyu still needed to cast his body, he chose not to take over Heaven's Destruction ancient city for the time being. In the city lord's mansion, Suyu was casting his body when a soft sound came from outside the door. Suyu opened his eyes and the city lord's mansion's door opened. A moment later, Elder Wang, who had already turned into a resident, walked in. He looked extremely old. He said softly, "City Lord, Heaven Hunting Pavilion is here to visit." "Who's here?" "An elder." Suyu nodded slightly. "Invite him in." Elder Wang walked out of the hall and Suyu sat upright on the hall. A moment later, a faceless elder stepped into the hall and bowed slightly. Tian Bing from the Sky Division pays his respects to City Lord Su. Suyu looked at him for a while and smiled lightly. "Why did Elder Tian Bing think of visiting me?" "City Lord, you must be joking." Tian Bing cupped his hands and said, "This time, I'm mainly here to discuss the matter of the Starry Manor with City Lord." "Discuss it with me?" Suyu said with a smile, "I don't care about that." Tian Bing quickly said, "I'm here on the orders of the minister." The minister means that the Heaven Hunting Pavilion and the 36 sacred cities are both ancient legacy forces. This time, the Starry Manor will be opened. He hopes that the two of us will work together. Also, this time, there will be a large number of experts from the various powerful clans of the gods and fiend celestials. Suyu smiled and said, "Because of the heavy losses, you want to make up for it?" "However, I heard that the stronger and older the Starry Palace is, the more dangerous it is to enter. Aren't these fellows afraid of suffering even greater losses?" Tian Bing said in a low voice, "This time, the various clans, including some ancient clans, will have a large number of experts. City Lord Su probably doesn't know. This time, it should be the 100th opening of the Starry Palace after the opening of the heavenly battlefield, which is 1,000 years. Once every 10 years, there will be more benefits for 100 years. 1,000 years, the benefits will be even greater. Moreover, according to the information from the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, this time, there might be a 9-leafed sky lotus on the 7th floor of the Starry Palace. Su Yu was somewhat at a loss. What was that thing? Tian Bing knew that Su Yu probably didn't know. He explained, the 9-leafed sky lotus is somewhat helpful to the invincible realm, or rather, very helpful. The city lord also knows that the strength of the invincible realm varies. The stronger ones are half-emperors, while the weaker ones, such as the lords of small worlds, may be stuck at a certain point for their entire lives. The cultivation of the invincible realm is extremely difficult. The invincible realm mainly walks the path of comprehending space and time. Each leaf of the 9-leaf sky lotus can allow the invincible realm to fuse with 3 generations of his body. It is incomparably precious. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2327 2327 Chapter 505, 9-leafed sky lotus 5. Wait, what does that mean? Su Yu frowned. Fuse 3 incarnations one more time. Tian Bing explained, the city lord should know a thing or two about the invincible Tao. When 3 incarnations fuse into one, the past and future will be fished out. However, there are countless past and future. You can only harvest one. Once you harvest one, you will not be able to capture the other past and future. However, this 9-leafed sky lotus has a miraculous effect. It can help you get another past and future body and fuse it into the past and future body that you've already obtained. It's equivalent to having more combat power. This is also a good way to advance to the half-emperor realm. Your human Great Qin King is actually close to the half-emperor realm. Su Yu interrupted, the half-emperor realm is the Tao fusing realm, right? Tian Bing nodded, yes, I don't know the specifics either. But the minister said that if the human Great Qin King can get the 9-leaf sky lotus, he might be able to enter the half-emperor realm and officially become the first half-emperor realm expert of the human race. Su Yu nodded slightly and smiled, what does it have to do with me? I'm not invincible. But now that you've said it, I understand. Something good is going to appear this time, so it's possible that experts from all races are going to enter. That's right. Tian Bing said in a deep voice, the Starry Mansion actually belongs to Su Yu's ancient faction. It belongs to the ancient city and the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. And the Heaven Hunting Pavilion needs the 9-leafed sky lotus this time, so I hope that we can work together with the city lord. Su Yu interrupted again, wait. Work together with me? To put it bluntly, our ancient city has almost no ability to participate in the competition for the Starry Mansion. It's only a little unreasonable outside. After entering the Starry Mansion, there are no guards to guard it and no undead to fuse with it. Even those city lords are only ordinary 9th-level Sun Moon and quasi-invincible. If you work together with me, don't tell me that you want me to help you take the 9-leafed sky lotus? Tian Bing nodded, that's what the minister means. He said that City Lord Su will definitely enter, and City Lord Su is the lord of the ancient city and also the most talented person in the world. City Lord Su will enter, and his luck will be prosperous. The most likely candidate to take the 9-leaf sky lotus is City Lord Su. The minister you're talking about is the minister of the Sky Department? Yes. He's going to enter the half-emperor realm? I'm not sure about that. Tian Bing shook his head. He didn't know about that, but it was very likely that the minister would take it. Once the minister of the Sky Division entered the half-emperor realm, the power of the Heaven Hunting Pavilion would greatly increase. Su Yu looked at him and said after a long time, does everyone know about this, or only the Heaven Hunting Pavilion? Those who have entered the 7th floor might know. Tian Bing explained, the human race and some small clans might not know, but as long as they have been to the 7th floor, most of them should know about it. The 9-leafed sky lotus is not the first day it has existed, but it has existed for a long time, but it has never bloomed. According to the previous observation, if it bloomed, it should have bloomed this time. This thing would only be useful if it bloomed. So, this time, the major clans should have some ideas. Especially the demon race, they definitely won't let it go. Whether the demon emperor wants to recover his 3 generations or the blood fire demon king wants to advance to half-emperor, they won't let it go. The other clans are the same. Suyu smiled and said, looking for me to cooperate, isn't it interesting? Isn't the head of the Sky Division in a deep sleep? He actually came out of seclusion. Then, if I have it, why should I give it to you? What the head means is that we can exchange it with some other treasures. Tian Bing explained, the head knows that the city lord's physical body is probably still in the soaring stage. Ling Yun isn't difficult for others, but for the city lord, it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. The city lord's vital qi had undergone 9 changes, and his vital qi was boundless. Soaring in the sky possessed the power of the sun and moon. The difficulty of completing the transformation was 100 or 1,000 times more than others. Without a supreme treasure to lay the foundation, it would be difficult to succeed. And the heaven-hunting pavilion had these things. The 9-leafed heavenly lotus was not of much help to the city lord. What the minister meant was that a lotus leaf could be exchanged for a resource that could allow the city lord to transform his vitality once. If the transformation was not completed, the heaven-hunting pavilion would continue to provide it. Since the 9 leaves had been seized, the heaven-hunting pavilion would help Suyu complete the 9 transformations. Suyu laughed. Your minister sure knows how to play. A treasure that can allow a person to advance to the half-emperor realm is exchanged with me advancing to the 9th level of Lingyun. It's different. Tian Bing laughed as well. The difference between City Lord Su's Lingyun and the other's Lingyun is too great. Moreover, this is only the first discussion and we can discuss it again. However, the prerequisite is that both of us can enter. Now that the various powerful clans are controlling the entrance to the Starry Mansion, we still have to work together to obtain more spots. 3 months later, the various clans will officially decide on the spots. If we don't compete then, it will be difficult for us to enter later. Suyu looked at him for a while and smiled. All right. We can work together to obtain more spots. As for the matters within the mansion, we'll see when the time comes. Besides, who said that I would definitely go? Tian Bing did not say anything. The entire world was speculating that Suyu would definitely go. This was the first time he had experienced the opening of the Starry Mansion. If he did not go, no one would believe it. This time, the experts from various races gathered. They had the intention to snatch the treasure, and they also had the intention to kill Suyu. If Suyu didn't die, the myriad realms would have an additional threat. Suyu waited for him to leave. He was a little helpless as he muttered, the myriad realms in the heavens are all certain that I want to go in. He was very helpless. In your eyes, am I that impatient? I insist on not going in. Suyu cursed in his heart and felt somewhat helpless. Should he go in? Go in. He was about to complete the casting, but he hadn't completed the 9 transformations yet. He had quite a few treasures, such as the extremely precious dragon blood ancient tree, the devil god fruit, and the 5 elements fruit. But, these treasures, were they enough for him to complete the 9 transformations of primordial qi? His 9 transformations of primordial qi was just like what the head of the Sky Division had said. Other people's 9 transformations of primordial qi were changes that would allow them to soar into the sky and enter Lingyun. Suyu's 9 transformations of primordial qi was equivalent to the completion of the 9 transformations of the sun and moon. The two were completely different. Especially now that his young aperture had been opened and he was constantly absorbing Suyu's primordial qi, the transformation was even more difficult. Suyu had to go to a great treasure like the Starry Mansion no matter what. Now, everyone knew that he was going, and they were certain that he was going. Suyu really wanted to surprise them, but he refused to go in. Unfortunately, it was so fragrant that he could not bear to give up this opportunity. Nine-leafed sky lotus. What does the heaven-hunting pavilion mean? Suddenly telling me that this treasure could help people enter the half-emperor realm, is this asking me to tell the human race? Otherwise, why did they specifically mention the great Qin king? Su Yu frowned. The heaven-hunting pavilion wasn't a good thing. Half-emperor realm, what the human race lacked was a half-emperor realm. When the great Qin king reached the half-emperor realm, even if he still couldn't completely unify the human race was invincible and probably had to be more obedient than before. I have a bad feeling. Su Yu muttered. The head of the heaven-hunting pavilion might not have any good intentions. Could it be that he wanted to use the human race to stop the 10,000 races? The possibility was very high. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2328. 2328 Chapter 506, Haze 1. Su Yu was a little surprised when the heaven-hunting pavilion suddenly said that they wanted to cooperate with him. He thought about this and thought of something. When he walked to the back hall, Xing Hong opened his eyes. Now that Xing Hong was no longer in a deep sleep, he was not cold when he saw Su Yu. He directly asked, "Do you have any doubts?" Su Yu nodded. "I'm thinking that if I go to the Starry Palace will be open for a month. During this month, there will be no city lords in the holy cities to bear the aura of death. Will the lords feel some pressure?" Xing Hong said indifferently, "You're worrying too much. During the period when the heavenly battlefield is closed, there are almost no city lords. In a short period of time, the guards can bear it." It was not that exaggerated. Su Yu was useful, but it did not mean that without Su Yu, the ancient city would be finished. Su Yu nodded and said, "There's one more thing. When I enter the Starry Manor, I heard that the aura of death passage will be cut off. If that's the case, I will miss the Star Moon Sovereign." Su Yu sighed and said, "My yang orifices are fully opened now. Without Star Moon Sovereign constantly providing me with death aura, my yang orifices will constantly absorb my yuan qi. Then, it'll be very difficult for me to continue enduring. It's too terrifying. I can't bear to part with Star Moon. This is my true love. Without her, I have to satisfy the yang orifice's needs on my own. Just like Elder Ancestor Bai, I have to constantly provide energy to my yang orifices. Am I going to fight or not? Halfway through the fight, my yang aperture sucked me to death. What should I do?" This problem was very serious. Su Yu did not wait for Xing Hong to speak. He quickly said, "My lord, do I have a way to carry Xing Yu around with me all the time?" This was a huge charging device. Without Xing Yu, I would be very uncomfortable. Su Yu. An incomparably mournful roar resounded throughout the passageway. Xing Hong's huge stone statue trembled continuously. Below, an emperor couldn't stand the stimulation anymore and attacked the tunnel frantically. She wanted to come out and kill Su Yu. She was going too far, she was going too far with the undead. No one would humiliate the undead like this. Su Yu actually wanted to carry her around with him. Was this human talk? Was this even human? She, Xing Yue, was the emperor of the undead world. She was invincible among the living beings and ruled over a region. And today, a small Su Yu was humiliating her so crazily. She was about to explode. Su Yu was helpless. He looked at the stone statue that was trembling. It went up and down at times. He said helplessly, "Sir, can't you seal the passage completely?" He was hurt again. Troublesome. Xing Hong looked at him and said it as if he was wrong. It was Su Yu's own whim. He actually thought of tying Xing Yue to his belt. This idea. I have lived for countless years. This was the first time I heard of it. Xing Yu was furious. This was not surprising. Don't treat the undead as humans. They were invincible and intelligent. This was too stimulating. Su Yu said seriously, "Sir, I'm serious. Is there such a way? Otherwise, if the death gas passage is cut off, I'll be in trouble. I might really not be able to go to the starry mansion." Seeing that Xingyue was still flying into a rage, bombarding the passage continuously, Su Yu said unhappily, "Lord Monarch, it's useless for you to come out. I didn't break the rules. If you come out, you're just courting death. Moreover, if I go to the starry mansion, you can at least stay quiet for a month. If I really can't go in, I'll suck you crazily for a month. Lord doesn't want that, right?" Xingyue fell silent. Su Yu continued, "My lord, do you have any ideas? Can you help me solve this problem? Otherwise, with the opening of my yang aperture, I can only keep sucking my lord. It's sucking, not reversing. If it's reversing, my lord still has hope to live to death, but if I reverse it and turn him into a living being, but sucking my lord dry, my lord will really die. Quickly, help me think of a solution. Stop fooling around." In the passageway, Xingyue was filled with grief and indignation. Su Yu, my converted subordinate. Now, he is threatening me. Furthermore, he wants me to think of a solution for him to solve this problem. Otherwise, he will suck me dry. I, Xingyue, have disgraced the entire death spirit world. Since the beginning of time, perhaps I am the first monarch to be threatened by a living being that has been converted into a living dead. What a great humiliation! Xingyue roared in her heart. After roaring in her heart for a while, Xingyue's cold voice soon sounded, "You can bring more treasures to replenish your vitality." Su Yu said unhappily, "This is inappropriate. It's only a temporary solution." Xingyue roared in her heart. She cursed, and cursed crazily. At the next moment, she suggested again, "Then you can hurry back and reduce your fighting with others. It seems that leaving Xingyu Manor early is also possible." "That won't do. I either won't go. I'll definitely get enough benefits if I go." As he said that, Su Yu ridiculed, "Lord Monarch, your suggestion isn't constructive at all. F***ck. Xingyu went crazy. She was going too far. Xing Hong's aura burst out and suppressed the passage. He looked at Su Yu with dissatisfaction. "Don't provoke this monarch anymore. You have nothing better to do, right?" It really stimulated the star moon to the point of madness. Although I can suppress it, the undead passageway below is about to erupt. I don't want to have a sovereign constantly attacking the passageway. Su Yu was also helpless. He realized that these undead seemed to be easily provoked. He too from Hongmeng City was the same. Was it because the undead weren't intelligent enough? There must be some flaws. Otherwise, Invincible would not have gone crazy just because of one sentence. Some of the invincible members of the 10,000 clans would not be angry even if they scolded him for a year. If they were angry, perhaps they had other plans. For example, the Demon King who came to find trouble last time. Su Yu scolded him a few times, but he did not say a word. In fact, he was just trying to cause trouble for the Blood Fire Demon clan. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 23-29. 23-29 Chapter 506 Haze 2. For someone like the great Zhou King, if you scolded him in front of him, unless he wanted to kill you, if he didn't want to, he could completely pretend that he didn't hear you. With this thought in his heart, Su Yu didn't provoke Xingyue anymore. He said very seriously, "Sirs, help me think of a way. Lord Xingyue, don't be angry, anger will hurt your body. Right now, I am also Lord Xingyue's subordinate. We are family, why do you need to be petty?" Xingyue's face was cold and she did not say anything. Su Yu could not see her either. "Lord Xingyue, have you ever thought of reviving Suyu smiled and said, I heard that when I am strong enough, I can reverse the aura of death. If it is faster than the aura of death that you gave birth to, I have hope of turning you into a living creature. Sir, you don't have to hate me. If I am really strong, you can revive me. But Xingyue did not take it seriously. She said coldly, when you were so strong, I was already sucked to death by you. Who are you trying to fool? Suyu was speechless. What a reasonable look. If I'm really that strong, Xingyue might really be sucked to death by me. Forget it. Forget it. Regardless of this, the problem really needed to be solved. Suyu had many openings and his yuan qi was rich. He could barely satisfy the absorption of his young apertures, but without the source of the aura of death, not to mention his consumption was too great. Once he encountered a fierce battle, fine, don't let the enemy kill him. As long as it dragged on, Suyu would be sucked to death by his young apertures. There was a way to solve the root of the problem, which was to open the yin apertures. However, according to Suyu's calculation, to open the yin apertures, he would need at least 360 divine apertures to be perfected. However, up until now, Suyu had only opened 216. He was still far from opening 144. Blood essence, he could think of something. It was actually hard to obtain the blood essence of a civilized master. On Zhan Wushuang's side, Suyu was just casually saying. That guy might not be able to get it for him. If not, perhaps he could ask the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion might have some blood essence that he needed. The current Golden Atlas did not seem to be of much help to Suyu. Recently, Suyu had not opened the atlas much. As he was thinking about this, Xing Hong said, if there's really no other way, we can look for Boss to try and see if we can temporarily seal your young aperture. You can't seal your young aperture once it's opened. Boss is a Dao fusing expert, so he might be able to help you seal it. I can't do it. I'm too unfamiliar with young apertures. If I forcefully seal it, I'm afraid that something might go wrong. He could seal it, but he was afraid that if it was sealed, it would kill Suyu. Suyu thought about it and agreed. If he couldn't open his yin aperture, he could find a half-emperor to try and seal my young aperture. He didn't know if it would work. If it was sealed, he could just temporarily not use his young aperture. Suyu said, also, there's another problem. I want to go in. Everyone probably wants to kill me. My aura of death is too strong. I can only think of a way to reverse the aura of death and turn it into a living being. But if that's the case, my name will probably appear on the heaven hunting list. Then, everyone will know that I, Suyu, have been resurrected. What should I do? Big trouble. Xing Hong pondered for a while and said, talk to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion controls the Heaven Hunting list. There should be some problems with the Heaven Hunting list. It might even be in hibernation and can't actively capture the aura. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion will have to search for it themselves. As long as the Heaven Hunting Pavilion removes your aura, it won't show up. There was a problem with the Heaven Hunting list. Otherwise, back then, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion wouldn't have needed to collect the aura at all. They would have taken the initiative to absorb the aura of the heavenly experts and geniuses, allowing them to be on the list. Unlike now, little Harry Ball had never been on the list until now, because his aura hadn't been collected. Suyu frowned. He didn't like this method. He hesitated and said, I don't want the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to know. Sir, is there any other way? This, you have to ask Boss. He knows more about the ancient times. Suyu cursed in his heart. You don't know anything. In the past, he thought that you were omnipotent. Now, no matter how he felt, you don't know much. Could it be that your memories have been sealed? All right. Suyu was helpless. In front of these two, he didn't get any useful information. Xing Hong probably also felt that he was not of much help. He quickly said, I see that your body forging is almost at its peak, but the Yuan Qi transformation is somewhat incomplete. Your transformation is incomplete and seems to have only transformed a portion of your acupuncture points. However, the transformation medium and the foundation material are very high-end. Is this the foundation of the Xia family's saber qi? Yes. Xing Hong quickly said, this saber qi is close to the eternal realm. If your other acupuncture points want to transform, it's best to find someone with similar strength to help you complete the transformation. The first transformation is best to use this kind of power to transform and completely complete the transformation. Su Yu nodded. Xing Hong continued, your transformation seems to be based on cultivation techniques. The saber qi of the Xia family has helped you complete the transformation of 144 acupuncture points. As for the other acupuncture points, you'd better use this as well. You may need the experts from the big families of gods, demons, immortals, and dragons to provide some pure seed power to help you complete the transformation. Su Yu nodded again. He was a little surprised. Boss Xing Hong was really good. His eyesight was not bad. Su Yu did some calculations himself. If he wanted to complete the first transformation of all the acupuncture points, he would need at least 7 or 8 experts from the big clans to do it. This was because his acupuncture points contained all the cultivation techniques of each clan. Xia Longwu's saber qi had only helped him complete the transformation of 144 acupuncture points. This was the route that belonged to the Xia clan's heaven-splitting blade. Xing Hong secretly heaved a sigh of relief. This fellow, do you still have the intention of looking down on others? Now you understand that a strong person is a strong person. Xing Hong quickly said, if you do this, it would be troublesome and inappropriate for you to transform. That's because you have too many cultivation techniques and too many routes. Be careful of conflicts. Since you have opened the heavenly cycle aperture, it's best for you to use the heavenly cycle technique to transform all of your energy into the power of the heavenly cycle. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2330. 2330 Chapter 506, Haze 3. The Method of the Heavenly Cycle. Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Xing Hong said indifferently, yes, the method of the heavenly cycle. Your current cultivation method is too complicated and messy. It doesn't even count as a system. It's messy, including your strength. You can't even fully use it. You're not the only one who opened the heavenly cycle acupoint. In the ancient times, would those geniuses who opened the heavenly cycle acupoint also use these messy cultivation methods? Actually, Su Yu opening the heavenly cycle aperture was a very big problem. How did he open it? It was impossible to open it. There was no way to find all 360 apertures now. For Su Yu to be able to open the heavenly cycle aperture in this era was actually countless times more difficult than in the ancient times because there were no cultivation techniques at all. For a person who didn't have any cultivation techniques to open the heavenly cycle aperture, this was the biggest anomaly. Of course, Xing Hong could see that he had used countless cultivation techniques to piece together. However, some of those cultivation techniques were not human cultivation techniques. How did Su Yu manage to modify these cultivation techniques to suit the human race? Some people could see this problem, but they did not say anything. As for Su Yu's great talent, that did not exist. Unless Su Yu dissected tens of thousands of each race, he would know every race like the back of his hand. This way, it was possible to adapt the cultivation method to suit the human race. After all, there were some similarities between cultivation methods. Su Yu was a little absent-minded, he muttered, yes, the method of the heavenly cycle. In ancient times, since one can open the acupoints of the heavenly cycle, it means that someone knows the method of the heavenly cycle. Otherwise, it can't be opened. Sir, so there is such a cultivation method, right? Of course. My lord, do you know it? No, Xing Hong said indifferently, "Nonsense, of course I don't know it." He quickly said, however, "I'm guessing that it might exist in the Starry Manor. That place was incomparably glorious in the past, so it's possible that these cultivation techniques exist there. Of course, you might not be able to find it. Even if it exists, it might exist at the highest level." Su Yu was speechless. "Then, weren't you talking nonsense?" He wasn't too anxious, but he quickly smiled and said, "It's fine, sir. I feel that if the predecessors can create cultivation techniques, I can too. If there are many cultivation techniques that I know, I will know where the acupoints are. I will just keep trying to run them. 360 acupoints, keep reassembling, sorting, and running them. Let me calculate, there should be." Su Yu calculated for a moment and laughed dryly. "There aren't many combinations, it's only 360 factorial. After calculating, that number could probably be written for a day, a terrifyingly huge number." Su Yu laughed dryly. "Forget it, if he were to deduce it himself, let the entire human race try one. The human race probably wouldn't be able to use it, even if all of them died, they might not be able to deduce it." Of course, the reality was that it was impossible for them to be so stupid. If they were to deduce a cultivation method, they wouldn't randomly order it. There was still a pattern to the combination of acupoints. Su Yu had also deduced a cultivation method before. Sometimes, the deduction of cultivation methods seemed to be extremely regular. Xing Hong said indifferently, "You deduced it yourself?" "I think it's not possible. You can actually try to find the ancient heavenly cycle method. Your heavenly cycle aperture should be transformed as a whole. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to form a system. In the future, you will find that when you are truly one with your acupoints, the conflict between your powers will be huge. At that time, if you still want to enter the sun and moon, I'm afraid the difficulty will increase greatly. Unless you give up a part of your aperture." Su Yu nodded. This was indeed a problem. The heavenly cycle method. In other words, he really had to go to the Starry Mansion this time. Su Yu asked, "Sir, does that Starry Mansion definitely have this?" "Not necessarily, but it is possible." Xing Hong smiled faintly and said, "If this cultivation technique is not in the Starry Manor, it would be in the territory of the human race. Opening the heavenly cycle aperture, in ancient times, was almost exclusively reserved for the human race. Of course, there were also 10,000 races. The gods, fiend celestials, and immortals seem to have produced such a peerless genius before, but I'm not too sure about the specifics. Each race's aperture is different, and each race's method of opening the heavenly cycle aperture is also different. Even if you find it, it'd be best if it's from the human race. If it's from 10,000 races, you can use it as a reference." Su Yu nodded and muttered, "I wonder if there's such a genius hanging in the Starry Mansion. If the corpse is still there, that would be great." This was because if the corpse was there, it wouldn't matter even if it was from the 10,000 clans. As long as the blood essence was there. Perhaps the picture book could be deduced, and that would be enough. Of course, he couldn't be too strong. Su Yu could only hope that he had picked up an ancient heavenly cycle aperture genius. The heavenly cycle technique wasn't a basic cultivation technique, but what if the genius who had opened the heavenly cycle aperture turned this cultivation technique into a basic cultivation technique? If it was not possible, it was also possible to extract the memories. Xing Hong said indifferently, "You'd better not place your hopes on the corpse. If the genius who had opened the heavenly cycle aperture really died, it would be very difficult. Even if he really died, he might still be in the dead soul realm now." Su Yu was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he said, "Sir, in the dead soul realm, we living people can enter, right?" "Huh?" Su Yu's eyes flickered, "This. I heard that sir means that many people have actually been resurrected in the dead soul realm, so these people should also have some memories, right? If there is a genius who has opened the heavenly cycle aperture. At this moment, below, Xingyue suddenly snorted coldly, even if there is, it is not something you can covet. Su Yu immediately smiled and said, Sir Xingyue, I am still very curious about the Dead Soul Realm. Sooner or later, I will be your subordinate. Going to the Dead Soul Realm with you to fight everywhere, I am a little curious. I am just curious, what is the Dead Soul Realm like? Are there many experts there? Or is it just you undead monarchs, or is there more? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2331. 2331 Chapter 506 Haze 4. At this moment, he was suddenly very curious about the world of the dead. Invincible, who had died in the ancient times, didn't seem to have heard of any corpses being left behind. Did they all turn into dead spirits? All in the world of the dead? That would be too terrifying. It was said that there was an emperor in the ancient times, and that emperor had also died. Was he also in the world of the dead? Damn! He didn't want to. It was nothing. Thinking about it, it was really terrifying. Xing Yu ignored him. Su Yu said with a smile, Lord Monarch, don't be like this, we are family. You can be considered as my direct superior. I am really curious, is the Dead Soul world big? Are there many experts? Are you the boss in the Dead Soul world? I think that the flame demon doesn't put you in his eyes. It's a bit too much. This flame demon is from the ancient demon race. I wonder which race you are from. If you were a human when you were alive, then you are still family. Xing Yu ignored him. Xing Hong smiled faintly and said, the dead spirit world is very, very big. There are many, many, many experts. Of course, most of them are in a deep sleep. Or rather, they are in a closed state. They don't have the concept of time or space. Some of them simply reside in the dead spirit heavenly river. For a lord of the dead spirit like Xing Yu, he has recovered some of his memories. That's why he has the desire to fight for hegemony. That's why he has intelligence. Those weak dead spirits don't have intelligence. They walk around unconsciously or don't move. And the stronger ones are those who have difficulty recovering their memories and are still muddle-headed. Su Yu understood. He said in surprise, Sir, what you mean is that the dead spirits like Xing as sovereign can only be considered as the medium-sized ones, which is just enough to recover their memories. However, they are half-baked and can't recover all of their memories. The weak can't be helped, and the strong can't be recovered. So, there is no tiger in the mountain, and the monkey is the king. That was what he meant. However, you may have provoked Star Moon again. Sure enough, in the next moment, the passage shook, and angry roars resounded through the heaven and earth. Star Moon was about to go crazy from anger. Su Yu was too much. She swore that she would kill this bastard, going too far. Xing Hong continued to suppress. He said with a smile, it can be said that when a truly powerful expert dies, it is actually very difficult for them to turn into undead. Even if they are led into the river of undead, it is also very difficult for them to turn into undead. When a dead spirit loses its consciousness and doesn't know anything, it would be like a piece of white paper. That would be a corpse. Xingyue and the others could be considered to be quite lucky. In fact, they weren't weak either. However, they were lucky and managed to recover some of their memories. Once they learned some things, they would come to the vicinity of this passageway and wish to return to the living realm. Su Yu understood. The dead spirit world might be very powerful, but when some experts died, they might have been guided. However, they were just like puppets and had no consciousness at all. No matter how strong the puppets were, no matter how many they were, having no consciousness was actually not scary. Su Yu understood. He sighed and said, in that case, even if you die, don't be too powerful. Otherwise, if you're too powerful, you won't be able to recover your memories. You'll be like a puppet. Even if you die, you have to die appropriately. You can't be weak, you can't be strong, you can't even be a dead soul. You can say that. For example, those dead souls that you killed before, most of them didn't have any consciousness. If you killed them, you killed them. They only followed some ancient rules to pull you to death. They didn't have any thoughts at all. At the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm, they might be able to recover some of their memories. Suyu sighed and smiled. In that case, Star Moon Lord's death was quite appropriate. Congratulations. F***CK. At this moment, Star Moon couldn't even vent her anger. She realized that the angrier she got, the more Suyu provoked her. She wanted to kill this guy. Suyu chuckled. He liked to see the expression on their faces when they wanted to kill him, but they couldn't kill him. It feels great. After the conversation with Xing Hong, Suyu learned a lot of things. He also knew what he needed to do next, such as the heavenly cycle technique. If he couldn't do it, he would go to the spirit world, he would find someone who could open the heavenly cycle aperture and talk about life. Of course, he wouldn't do it now. He hadn't reached that stage yet. If he went to the spirit world, Xingyu would probably be able to cut him into pieces. Suyu walked out from the back hall. At this moment, he had already cast his body 69 times. With 3 more casts, he would be able to complete the body casting technique and step into the Lingyun realm. The problem of the young aperture still needed to be solved. In addition, he might be able to contact the Bai family's patriarch, Bai Feng's grandfather. In the end, he could be considered one of them. Now that Suyu had taken over several ancient cities, he might be able to let Old Master Bai take over as a city lord. Of course, this would require him to become a living dead person. However, right now, Old Master Bai was even more miserable than a living dead person. He probably could not even move. As for neutralizing the young aperture, there was no hope. Even Suyu hadn't been able to do it, let alone Old Master Bai. Even if Suyu had found the Yin aperture, he might still need to open 360 God apertures. Old Master Bai was already very old, and he might be finished before he could open them. He might as well turn into a living dead person. At least he would be more at ease and be able to live for a period of time. I can contact teacher now. Suyu thought to himself, it would be best if he could bring your grandfather here and turn him into a living dead person. A living dead person was nothing. At the very least, with his young orifices fully opened, Old Master Bai's combat strength would soar. However, this person seemed to only be a mountain and sea. Even if he soared, he would probably only be able to fight the sun and the moon. Right now, Suyu did not think much of him. He could fight the sun and the moon on his own. As he walked out, Suyu contacted the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Right now, he was still wearing a white mask, and the black armor mask was still at the southern borderless. Suyu took out the Heaven Hunting Atlas and asked, I want to purchase a batch of blood essence. Can you provide it? What blood essence do you need? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2332. 2332 Chapter 506 Haze 5. Civilized masters, all the powerful clans need them. Don't be too strong, just fly above the ground. Civilized masters. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion was obviously thinking or checking their inventory. After a while, they replied, there aren't many civilized masters among the clans, and they rarely participate in battles. There are some humans, do you need them, elders? I want your ass. Suyu was speechless. Get lost, this Heaven Hunting Pavilion was indeed not a good thing. Other than the human race, there aren't any from the other races. There are some, but the minister just gave an order. If you want them, you can, but if you want them, we can discuss it after the cooperation is completed. F***CKU. Suyu harumphed. From the looks of it, he was prepared to pinch me. The head of the Sky Division gave the order. Wasn't this person in a deep sleep? It seemed like he really came out. Now he was going to take over the Sky Hunting Pavilion. There were too many people in the Sky Hunting Pavilion. They needed to be reorganized. We can talk about cooperation. Give me a batch of blood essence first. The free kind. It's useless to pinch me with this. I'm an elder of the Sky Hunting Pavilion, don't I give you any face? Are you from the Huang Department? Do you know the director of the Huang Department? Zhu Tianfang is my relative. Do you know Huang Jia? Calm, he's an old friend of mine. He's an internal member of the Huang Department and I have many friends. Be polite. Be careful that I don't make trouble for you with your direct elders. Su Yu teased him for a while. Are you afraid? The Heaven Hunting Pavilion has already become a sieve. Why are you still showing off to me? At this moment, Su Yu doesn't know how the Heaven Hunting Pavilion will react. If they don't give it to me, then forget it. I'll think of a way myself. The matter of the Yang Aperture must be resolved. If he doesn't resolve it, he won't be able to leave the ancient city easily. Without the support of Xingyu, Su Yu will be very sad. He must protect Xingyu well. Just as Su Yu was thinking of a way to resolve the problem of the Yang Aperture. The human race. East Rift Valley. He hadn't received any news before, but today, a piece of news had suddenly spread. This time, the Starry Palace had opened, and the 9-leafed Sky Lotus was about to appear on the 7th level. The human race had never been to the 7th level, so they didn't know the situation. They didn't even know what the 9-leafed Sky Lotus was. However, everyone soon found out. It was a treasure that could help Invincible advance to the Half-Emperor realm. A real treasure. It could be considered a treasure that could strengthen the past body of the future. If it was forcefully strengthened, the 3 bodies would be pushed to the peak and enter the Half-Emperor realm. The number 1 expert of the human race, the Great Qin King, was said to be able to compete with the Half-Emperor realm. But that was only his title. In the past, when he, the Great Xia King, and the Great Zhou King joined forces, he only fought with the Half-Emperor realm. It could be considered a draw, but he didn't have any advantage. The human race lacked top-notch strength in this aspect. A half-emperor could deal with 7 or 8 unrivaled experts. Even if he could not kill them, he could still tangle with them. In a one-on-one situation, it was very difficult for an unrivaled expert to escape from a half-emperor. This was the strength of the old turtle that had almost crushed the Dragon King to death. But if the Great Qin King really wanted to kill an unrivaled expert, it would not be that easy. There were not enough restrictions. As soon as the news spread out, the human realm was shocked. In the vanguard camp, Qin Zhen, who had successfully attained the Tao, looked at the Great Qin King and said in shock, "Father, the 7th level. 9-leafed Sky Lotus. Is this news true?" The Great Qin King frowned slightly. After a long while, he said, "The person who spread this news might not have good intentions." The human race had just calmed down a little. Once this news spread out, the 10,000 races would definitely continue to target the human race. They definitely wouldn't let the human race obtain the 9-leafed Sky Lotus. There was a high chance that it was not spread by the gods and demons. They were hoping that we would not know the situation and take it away by ourselves. I'm afraid that someone wants to take the chestnut out of the fire. Most likely, it was spread by the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Qin Zhen said excitedly, "Father, no matter who spread the news, since there is hope, we have to fight for it. If Father really becomes a half-emperor and the human race is unified, then those fellows will not go back on their words. You think too simply." The Great Qin King shook his head. He had been in charge of the East Rift Valley for hundreds of years, and he still did not know the situation. He said in a deep voice, "You are giving me trouble. Of course I want to become a half-emperor. Not just me, old Zhou, old Xia, old Zhu, everyone wants to. I'm afraid that before I get what I want, there will be cracks in the human race. This is just the beginning. Rather than that, I'd rather let the other races have a half-emperor and let the human race feel even more pressure. It would be best if the blood-fire demon king of the demon race took it away. If that's the case, it would be a good thing. But Qin Zhen said unwillingly, if father really succeeds, the human race might be unified. The great Qin Manor will lead the human race to fight against all the races. It's better than being taken away by someone else. You're too young. The great Qin king shook his head, he sighed and said, this isn't a good thing. When this news comes out, I'm worried. Forget it, since the news has already spread out, this is the only way. 7 levels, the first 3 levels were dominated by soaring clouds, the middle 3 levels were dominated by the mountains and seas, and the upper 3 levels were dominated by the sun and moon. Without the power of the sun and moon, it would be difficult to establish a foothold. Is this intentionally letting the sun and moon of the human race enter? Or even letting eternity enter personally? I'm willing to enter and seize this item for father. Qin Zhen said seriously, father, I'm willing to enter the Starry Manor. The great Qin king felt bitter. He was doomed. Perhaps this was what the people behind the scenes wanted. Since Qin Zhen was in such a state, the other major powers might not be able to hold themselves back anymore. Would Zhu Tianfang go? Where was Lu Wuxian? Where was the Zhou family? The Starry Manor would be in big trouble this time. The 9-leafed sky lotus, no one knew who had thrown the bait. Was it a conspiracy, or was it simply fishing in troubled waters? The great Qin king sighed. So what if he was a half-emperor? So what if he was a half-emperor? Could he unify the human race? He thought too lightly. The human race might not need a half-emperor now, but something else. As for himself, the great Qin king looked into the distance. If he really became a half-emperor, it would be difficult for him to do anything. Could it be that he could kill those old friends of his? At this moment, the human race needed an extremely powerful but ruthless expert who did not have a good relationship with others. For example, Su Yu. He suddenly thought of this fellow and shook his head. No, Su Yu did not have deep feelings for the human race. He did not understand those things. He was still too young. He only remembered hatred. He only remembered his small family. It was not Su Yu's fault. It was because he had not felt anything when he was growing up. He was different from himself. The great Qin king sighed, these are troubled times. The calamity of the human race is about to begin. The journey to the Starry Palace suddenly became a little more gloomy. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2333. 2333 Chapter 507 Su Yu's Inheritance Chiu Subscribe, 1. Boom! A great battle broke out on the Sea of Stars. Zhan Wuxuang punched through a mountain and sea realm expert, extracted his blood, and left his corpse behind. He didn't even look back as he left. Behind him, a group of people were extremely terrified. Their leader had been killed. Zhan Wuxuang. Zhan Wuxuang's body had been destroyed, and he had just recovered. He was a top genius of the Protoss race, the peak of the 8th level of the mountain and sea realm, Zhan Wuxuang. Behind him, a creature trembled and said, "Why, you are a genius of the Protoss race. If you want to kill, you should kill those elites of the 10,000 races. Why do you want to kill our leader?" It was incomprehensible. Such a top genius had no grudges or grudges. Why did he want to attack small clans like them? Was the mountain and sea in Zhan Wuxuang's eyes? Zhan Wuxuang stepped on the air and left. He didn't even look back. Behind him, a figure appeared, bursting with immortal qi. Xian Wuji said coldly, "Zhan Wuxuang, why did you slaughter everyone and extract the blood essence? Zhan Wushuang did not turn his head back. Xian Wuji said coldly, you were captured by Su Yu, but you returned safely. Could it be that you have already listened to Su Yu's orders and collected the blood essence for him? We all know that Su Yu is good at producing blood essence. Zhan Wushuang, don't make a mistake. In the distance, Zhan Wushuang turned to look at him and said indifferently, Xian Wuji, mind your own business. After saying that, the figure disappeared on the spot. Xian Wuji watched for a while and smiled. A moment later, Dao Cheng's figure appeared and said softly, Daoist brother Wuji, it seems that he has indeed reached some conditions with Su Yu. Xian Wuji sneered and said, of course. Otherwise, how could Su Yu be so generous as to let him go without killing him? Dao Cheng nodded slightly. The living beings who were lucky enough to survive in the surroundings all asked for help, Immortal Wuji, please uphold justice. Zhan Wushuang massacred the common people and killed as many people as he could. He has been bewitched. Yes, bewitched. Xian Wuji smiled and said, I will avenge you. The 10,000 races will not tolerate the existence of these devils. Those people were instantly overjoyed. It was just a casual remark. They had never thought that this immortal genius would really want to uphold justice and uphold justice. This was simply unbelievable. At this moment, Dao Cheng's finger circled around the divine runes. The divine runes suddenly disappeared, and in an instant, they pierced through the remaining people. Their corpses were instantly burned, and in the blink of an eye, the remaining living beings all perished. Dao Cheng's divine runes fluctuated, and in the next moment, the void trembled, and space-time twisted. After killing these people, Dao Cheng smiled and said, Dao brother Wuji, have you finished recording the video? Sell it to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Xian Wuji smiled faintly and said, there's no rush. Let's make a collection. The genius of the primordial divine race, Zhan Wushuang, wantonly massacred the common people. He's really giving the divine race face. The primitive celestial race was like this, and the primitive demon race was also in chaos, the human race was the public enemy. In this case, it seems that only the celestial race can seek justice for the common people. Xian Wuji sighed and said softly, pathetic. The gods and demons are the strongest races in the world. In order to survive, Zhan Wushuang reached a demonic agreement with Su Yu. He massacred the living beings and extracted the essence blood for Su Yu to cultivate the demonic technique. How pathetic. Dao Cheng also smiled and the divine writing in his hand disappeared. It's pathetic, but the culprit is still Su Yu. I really hope that he will enter the starry mansion this time and all the races will kill him together. Xian Wuji nodded with a smile and soon, he said with a low laugh, the human race wants to take the 9-leafed sky lotus and prepare for the great Qin king to become a half-emperor. As for Su Yu, he is actually a spy of the great Qin king. He wants to use Su Yu's luck to seize the half-emperor position for him, unify the human race, and conquer the heavens. He must be killed. Dao Cheng also smiled as he added. The two of them looked at each other and instantly disappeared. Not long after, an expert from the sun and moon race arrived. He was furious. When he saw the corpse that had been killed to extract the blood essence, and the blood that had been dyed red in the sea, he roared, damn it! Who did this? My blue blood snake race will definitely pay you back 100 times over. Damn it! There were many experts from his race here. There were many experts from the mountain and sea race, as well as a few geniuses from Ling Yun. They wanted to take advantage of the opening of the Starry Sky Mansion to see if there was a chance, but all of them were killed. Who did this? The sun and moon carefully examined the corpse that Zhan Wushuang had left behind. Their eyes flickered. Was this the Protoss race? The primitive Protoss race? Damn it! He had punched through the mountain sea snake race. Protoss race. There was a divine power inside, and it was difficult to disguise. Who did this? The sun and moon expert's expression changed again and again. How could our race provoke a Protoss expert? A moment later, the sun and moon expert disappeared with his corpse. At this moment, the entire sea of stars was filled with battles, and people were dying. Elsewhere. In the sea, a stream of water surged. In the next moment, a small golden dragon pounced on the surface of the sea. A moment later, a human figure appeared. The floating earth spirit cursed, "Long Wuyo, do you want to die? Damn you! I didn't provoke you, yet you still dare to provoke me." Although Long Wuyo had already entered the Mountain Sea realm and the floating earth spirit had just entered the 8th level of Lingyun realm, he wasn't afraid of this inexperienced little dragon. He said angrily, "If you follow me again, I won't be polite to you." The little golden dragon was wandering in the air as he said coldly, "Floating earth spirit, everyone says that you are the hope of the Five Elements clan. I also want to see how your Five Elements clan will compare to my dragon clan in this water region. King of the Five Elements? What a joke. In this water region, my dragon clan was the boss." The floating earth spirit cursed in his heart and laughed. "I didn't say that. In terms of water element power, Su Yu is the strongest. He is the best at this Dao. Long Wuyo, why don't you go and fight with Su Yu?" You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2334. 2334 Chapter 507 Su Yu's Inheritance Chiu Subscribe, 2. I'll only kill you. F***CK. You little dragon, do you even know who is easier to deal with? The floating earth spirit was speechless. At this moment, the floating earth spirit's expression suddenly changed. He smiled and said, "Long Wuyo, look, there's a human walking on water over there. He's extremely powerful in the water element. Why don't we spar with him?" Long Wuyo also looked over and said coldly, "He's only a 3rd level Lingyun cultivator. Too weak. Not worth it." All geniuses had their dignity. At this moment, the person in the distance also saw the situation over here. It was a golden dragon and an illusory figure. His expression changed slightly. Floating earth spirit, Long Wuyo. They were both fellows on the earth roll. They were not to be trifled with. Floating earth spirit's ranking on the earth roll was very high. When that person saw that these two fellows seemed to be observing him, he did not dare to flee in an instant. He hurriedly stopped and said with a humble smile, "Two experts, may I ask how to get to ancient Starred City?" On the other side, the floating earth spirit and Long Wuyo looked at each other. The floating earth spirit smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist, you want to go to ancient Starred City?" "That's right." That person didn't retreat but advanced toward them. He stepped on the air and said with a smile, "Experts, can you tell us how to get to ancient Starred City? What are you going there for?" The floating earth spirit became interested and said with a smile, "It's very dangerous over there. Don't look at the city lord as Su Yu. He doesn't have any good intentions toward you humans either." The person said with a smile, "That's for others, but it's different for me. Are the two of you also going to ancient Starred City? I think the two of you look a little familiar. Could it be the famous floating earth spirit of the Five Elements clan? Long Wuyo of the Golden Dragon clan?" When these words were said, the two of them were surprised. The floating earth spirit said with a smile, "You know it's us, so why aren't you running?" The person said with a smile, "Why are you running? If the two of you want to kill me, I can't run either. If you don't kill me, then there's no need to run." As one of the few members of the Great Xia's Divine Literature Department, rather than being killed in a sorry state, it's better to be calm. The floating earth spirit was slightly shocked. "You have a Divine Literature Department?" "That's right." The person introduced himself, "My name is Lu Hong, a researcher of the Great Xia Civilization Academy. My master is Zhang Ruoling, and my master is Lu Wenyan's martial uncle's disciple of the same generation. The two of you might not know my master, but because my master inherited the sun and moon divine literature, he was unable to support himself and passed away a long time ago. When these words were said, the floating earth spirit was a little surprised. Zhang Ruoling, there seems to be some records. Lu Hong. Your Lu Hong, ranked 6th on the yellow roll. To be on the yellow roll, he must be a top genius. This guy, was he from the divine literature department? The floating earth spirit was surprised. Are you from the divine literature department? Yes. Lu Hong was calm and smiled elegantly. Sorry to make you laugh. I heard that both of you have a grudge against my nephew Su Yu. Sigh. Lu Hong sighed and said, if you want to be killed or cut into pieces, do as you please. The floating earth spirit smiled and Long Wuyo said disdainfully, ridiculous. Who do you think you are? Are you Su Yu? Kill you? Ridiculous. A mere 3rd level Ling Yun. Even though they were on the yellow roll, they were only on the yellow roll. Now that they were in front of them, were they the kind of people who would kill someone who was weak? Weak. Alright, this was a little exaggerated. I dare to kill the floating earth spirit, but... why? I don't have to fight to the death with Su Yu. He was a little curious and said with a smile, fellow Taoist Lu Hong, are you going to the ancient city of Xinghong for the matter of the Xingyu mansion? Lu Hong nodded and said with a smile, it's precisely for this matter. I originally wanted to return to the Great Xia mansion, but in the end, I heard that Mansion Master Wan betrayed us and Martial Uncle Lu and the others went to Lu City. Sigh, after thinking about it, I still have to look for Su Yu to find a way to get a spot. He said somewhat embarrassedly, the manor head of the southern borderless territory can be considered as unrivaled in my lineage, but unfortunately, sigh, it's better to look for Su Yu. After all, I've been teaching him for a year, and I have nothing else to ask for. I heard that the ancient city might also have a spot, so I specially came to look for him to ask for one. You've been teaching Su Yu for a year. Long Wuyo immediately shouted, nonsense, Su Yu's teacher is Bai Feng. That's the name, right? How could it be you? Lu Hong laughed, the dragon race probably doesn't know the teaching methods of the human race. Bai Feng is only one of his teachers. I am the chief instructor of Su Yu's new batch of students. Su Yu actually has many teachers, not only Bai Feng and Uncle Master Lu, but I am also his master. According to the dragon race's saying. He is the kind of teacher who teaches personally, while Bai Feng is the teacher in name. Long Wuyo was a little confused. The human tribe system was very strange. In the 10,000 tribes, anyone's student was the student of anyone. How could there be so many twists and turns? However, he knew a thing or two about the human tribe. At least he knew one thing. Su Yu's teacher was Bai Feng and Lu Wenyan, and Lu Wenyan was Bai Feng's uncle master. In any case, the human tribe was very illogical. He didn't say anything more. After all, he didn't understand the human race's system. At this moment, his interest was piqued, and he asked curiously, "You're Su Yu's teacher, why haven't I heard Su Yu mention?" Lu Hong smiled and said, "Then Taoist brother Worryless, do you know that the teacher that Su Yu admires the most isn't necessarily Lu Wenyan, but Zhao Li? Does brother Worryless know Zhao Li?" This Zhao Li, the expert who taught Su Yu the divine expanding hammer, is also Su Yu's teacher. Su Yu's weapon forging technique was all passed down by Zhao Li. Brother Worryless did not know this because he was not familiar with Su Yu, and no one would talk about who they liked or worshipped. After all, you guys are not friends with Su Yu. That was true. This time, the floating earth spirit couldn't help but nod and smile. Since you're his teacher, what did you teach Su Yu? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2335. 2335 Chapter 507 Su Yu's Inheritance Chiu Subscribe, 3. Aries Art, Heaven Breaker. Aren't these common cultivation techniques of the human race? The floating earth spirit couldn't help but laugh. Lu Hong laughed and said, "That's right. Then tell me, what did Uncle Master Lu Wenyan teach Su Yu?" "The foundation is the foundation." As he spoke, he laughed and said, "It's useless to tell you this. If you two don't kill me, then can you tell me how to get to Xinghong Ancient City?" The floating earth spirit glanced at him. It was Su Yu's teacher. He was from the Multi-Divine Literature Department. Interesting. He had interacted with Su Yu a few times. Of course, even though they had only exchanged a few words, there weren't many people in the universe who had actually interacted with Su Yu. He was very interested in Su Yu. At this moment, Su Yu's teacher had delivered himself to his door, interesting. Regardless of whether it was true or not. He smiled and said, "The ancient city of Xinghong is still far away. Since brother is an expert from the Multi-Divine Literature Department, why don't we spar a little? Don't worry, I just want to experience the power of the many divine languages. I don't have any other intentions. The many divine languages are famous, but it is extremely rare for them to make a move. It is even rarer for us to see the great Xia Manor have many divine languages. Spar." Lu Hong smiled. In the next moment, a thin sword flashed and disappeared. Pu Chi, the void seemed to have been cut open. The figure of the floating earth spirit instantly disappeared. In the next moment, it turned into a huge wave that surged into the sky. Kill. With a hum, the void trembled again. Lu Hong struck out with his sword, and he instantly disappeared on the spot. The wave of water attacked, but it missed. The moment the floating earth spirit appeared, a transparent thin sword suddenly flashed in the void again. It cut through the water shadow and instantly cut the water shadow into two halves. The floating earth spirit's water shadow disappeared. In the blink of an eye, it appeared behind Lu Hong. Lu Hong smiled and the illusion shattered. The two exchanged dozens of blows in the blink of an eye. The floating earth spirit attacked again, but Lu Hong took dozens of steps back inside. "Let's not spar anymore. I'm no match for fellow Taoist. The gap is too big." The floating earth spirit's eyes were filled with surprise. "This is a multi-divine prose battle technique. It's so exquisite. I feel that it's much more exquisite than that boorish Su Yu. I fought with that boorish guy once, and that guy only knows how to hammer me with a hammer." He had exchanged dozens of moves with Lu Hong just now, and it gave him a very strange feeling. All kinds of divine prose characteristics were contained within, and they unintentionally spread out, affecting him. He was 5 minor realms higher than Lu Hong. Otherwise, it might not be so easy to defeat Lu Hong. He really was an expert of the multi-divine prose faction. Fellow Taoist Lu Hong is also going to enter the Starry Manor this time. Yes. The floating earth spirit's eyes flickered for a moment before he said with a smile, "You are going to enter with Su Yu?" Lu Hong said without batting an eyelid, "I won't. I know that the myriad clans want to deal with my student. How could I go with him and harm him? I will act alone." The floating earth spirit said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist, don't misunderstand. I don't have any other intentions. Even if I were to deal with Su Yu, it's not something I can get involved in. Fellow Taoist, you don't seem weak. You're not old, and your talent is very strong. If we're fated, we can work together in the Starry Mansion. Sometimes, the Starry Mansion doesn't just depend on strength, but also on luck and talent. Is that so?" Lu Hong said with a smile, "I really haven't been there before, and I don't know much about these things. When I get to the ancient city, I'll ask Su Yu for a spot. After I get it, if fellow Taoist wants to work together, that's fine too, After saying that, he said with a smile, "Fellow Taoists, if there's nothing else, then I'll take my leave first." The floating earth spirit said with a smile, "Go ahead." With a casual wave of his hand, a faint light fell on Lu Hong's body. Lu Hong slightly frowned, and his qi and blood fluctuated for a moment. The divine text scanned the surroundings and glanced at the floating earth spirit suspiciously. It seemed that it didn't find anything abnormal, so it didn't say anything more. He cupped his hands toward the two of them and quickly left. After walking for a while, Lu Hong quickly burned everything on his body and muttered, "Nothing. Strange." In the distance, the floating earth spirit laughed. "How could he be detected by you? That counts as your ability." On the side, Long Wuyo sneered, "Scheming and scheming are just small tricks after all. Why are you monitoring him?" "I'm curious." The floating earth spirit laughed, "I'm a little curious about this guy's purpose. He has a lot of divine runes. I've never heard of him. He's very strange. Isn't he going to the ancient city? It's just nice to check out the situation." Long Wuyo sneered and soon said coldly, "Give me one of those 5-element bugs. I also want to see if this guy is telling the truth." The floating earth spirit laughed. After throwing a small earthy yellow bug over, Long Wuyo took it into his claws. Lu Hong's figure instantly appeared in his eyes. At this moment, Lu Hong had burned his body. His willpower shook and the divine runes washed over him. After a while, he heaved a sigh of relief and said, "I was thinking too much. That's right. These two people want to kill me. It's very simple. It seems that they are still afraid of Su Yu's identity." As he said that, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "They managed to get away with it. These two fellows really think that I'm Su Yu's teacher. Hee hee." Long Wuyo's anger flared up. "Are they lying to us?" The floating earth spirit laughed instead and said, "Calm down. If this fellow is lying to us, then lie to us. I want to see if he really wants to look for Su Yu." After that, Lu Hong flew in silence and didn't talk to himself anymore. His target was the ancient city of Xinghong. After flying for a while, a white-faced man suddenly appeared and said coldly, "Lu Hong, we meet again." Lu Hong looked at him coldly and said in a low voice, "This white-faced fellow Taoist, you've stopped me many times. What exactly do you want to do?" "Business, business." Bai Mian said coldly, "Fellow Taoist, I'm the only one who knows about your information. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion is honest and trustworthy. Fellow Taoist, you've refused to do business several times because the price is not enough. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories." Chapter 2336. 2336 Chapter 507 Su Yu's Inheritance. Chiu subscribe, 4. "Nonsense, I don't know what you're talking about." Lu Hong said coldly, "If you continue to pester me, I'm going to see Su Yu. Don't force me to look for Su Yu. When that time comes, I might not be able to do anything. You're dead for sure. Su Yu is most afraid of others having designs on him." The white-masked man's aura spread. Lu Hong said coldly, "You want to kill me to silence me. Even if you kill me, you won't be able to get what you want." The white-masked man coldly said, "Lu Hong, what's the point? Didn't you do all this for the sake of resources? You might have enough resources to advance to the Lingyun Mountains and seas, but what about the sun and moon? 100 drops of sun and moon mystic yellow liquid. If you think that's not enough, I'll add another 35 element spirit fruits." "Ha!" Lu Hong sneered, "Aren't you dreaming too much? Besides, it's useless for you to have this thing. It's not suitable for races other than the human race." The white-faced man said gloomily, "Are you sure? Why did I hear that this cultivation technique can be cultivated by all races? The 5 elements divine art, this is an ancient secret technique. In the dark, the floating earth spirit's heart shook violently. Lu Hong said coldly, ancient secret technique. I don't know if it's a secret technique, but I do know. If I really spread it out, Suyu will definitely kill me. I don't know where you got the news from. Let me tell you, it's all fake. I didn't get it at all. Lu Hong, do you really have to do this? You and Bai Feng worked together in secret to nurture Suyu. Suyu was young and ignorant, so he gave the item to Bai Feng. You stole it in secret. Do you really think that no one will find out? Lu Hong had a serious look on his face. You have been spying on Bai Feng. I don't think you've been spying on me. I'm just a nobody. It's not worth it. Have you been following Bai Feng all this while? Since you understand, you should also know that we don't have absolute confidence. We definitely won't make a deal with you. Lu Hong, the 5 elements divine art isn't something that just anyone can possess. You'd better make a deal with us. Otherwise, you'll be in big trouble sooner or later. Lu Hong's expression changed, he sneered and said, big trouble. I'll return it to Suyu. Where's the big trouble? Although I'm not his teacher, I've secretly helped him a lot. I've helped him get rid of the assassination attempt by Shan Shenwen, helped him get out of the Great Xia Mansion, and helped him obtain a large amount of resources. I just hate Bai Feng for not sharing it with me, but I never thought of going against Suyu. Do you think Suyu will kill me? He won't. I'll return it to him. He definitely won't do anything to me. Stubborn. The white-faced man shook his head. If you don't make a deal before you arrive at the ancient city of Xinghong, don't regret it. At that time, I won't be the one who comes. It's not impossible for the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to search my memories. Threaten me? Lu Hong sneered. Then you can try. Do you think I'm really not prepared? It's your first time coming to me, so you can just take me down. Now, you can try searching. Then what exactly do you want? Lu Hong said coldly, what do I want? I want more, 105 elements spirit fruits. 300 drops of the sun-moon mystic yellow liquid, and 500 strands of heaven and earth mystic light. In your dreams. Then forget it. Lu Hong ignored him and took a detour. The white-faced man looked at him coldly. After a long time, he said, I will come again, Lu Hong. After entering the ancient city, you have nothing. You, Lu Hong, are not the kind of person who doesn't like benefits. Everything you do is for benefits. There's no need to be sanctimonious. Lu Hong did not even turn his head and said, big brothers don't talk about second brother. You guys have given too little. I'll go apply. I hope that you will walk slowly and don't really go to the ancient city to seek your own death. After saying that, the white face disappeared. Behind him, the floating earth spirit's heart shook violently. What the hell? The 5 elements divine art? Suyu. Yes, Suyu had learned his 5 elements purgatory in an instant the last time. Could it be that, what he knew was the 5 elements divine art? No wonder. No wonder he had felt that something was wrong the last time. So that was how it was. Many thoughts rose in the floating earth spirit's mind. This Lu Hong knew the 5 elements divine art. Was it only suitable for the human race, or was it suitable for the 10,000 races? Or, was it suitable for the 5 elements race? He swallowed his saliva. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Kill Lu Hong. Kill him directly and extract his memories. However, Lu Hong was not even afraid of the white mask, nor was the Heaven Hunting Pavilion afraid. Perhaps he really had some preparations. Suyu Guild, Bai Feng Guild, Lu Hong Guild. It was obvious that it would be difficult to obtain it from the others. As for this Lu Hong, so he came to the ancient city to force the Heaven Hunting Pavilion to submit and give him the high price he needed? The floating earth spirit was extremely surprised. My luck, is indeed worthy of being the hope of the Five Elements clan. I randomly met someone, and he's actually an important figure, the Five Elements divine art. He once again swallowed his saliva. I really know about this. There are records of this in the ancient times, and there are records of the Five Elements clan. It seems that, they originally came from the human race. So it turns out that Su Yu knows this. I finally understand why the ancestor's spell didn't have much effect on him and was even devoured by him. It turns out that it's because of the cultivation technique that Su Yu knows. What should I do? The floating earth spirit's heart trembled. He suddenly looked at Long Wuyo. Long Wuyo was also looking at him. He transmitted his voice, "Don't look at me like that." "What, do you want to kill Long to silence me?" "I think you should think about how to get the Five Elements divine art." I didn't expect Su Yu to know this. I've seen it in the records of the Dragon Clan. This cultivation technique has long been lost. Su Yu actually knows it. Is it true or false? The floating earth spirit didn't say a word. Long Wuyo kept retreating and said again, "The Heaven Hunting Pavilion's intelligence is still the best in the world. It looks like they've been watching this guy for a long time. Floating earth spirit, if you want to keep quiet and get this cultivation technique, it won't be that easy." The floating earth spirit's eyes changed. Suddenly, he said, "Long Wuyo, lend me some treasures. If we can get this thing this time, it will be useful to our Five Elements clan. The Five Elements clan will definitely repay you generously. Long Wuyo, as you know, this thing may not be of use to others, but it is of great use to our Five Elements clan." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2337. 2337 Chapter 507 Su Yu's Inheritance 5. What do you want to do? The floating earth spirit suddenly put on a white mask and said with an ethereal voice, "Change the cultivation technique." Long Wuyo was stunned. He instantly smiled and said, "Good move. Is this the Heaven Hunting Pavilion?" "I've got it, but no one knows that it's been taken away by you. Even Lu Hong thinks that I've traded it to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion." "What a good trick. Floating earth spirit, you're much more treacherous than I thought." The floating earth spirit wore a white mask, and its voice suddenly turned into the white mask's voice. It said in a low voice, "It's better to avoid trouble. If other races know about this, they'll definitely cause some trouble. Long Wuyo, lend me some treasures and keep it a secret. On behalf of the Five Elements clan, I'll definitely help you when you achieve Dao. I can even give you 2 carriers to help you achieve your Dao in secret. Even if you are the descendant of the Golden Dragon clan's Grand Elder, will the Dragon clan, the Heavenly Dragon clan, give you all of their resources? There are many dragon clans that are more talented than you. You, Long Wuyo, don't have any advantage in the Heavenly Ranking Dragon Reflection Moon and Earth Ranking Dragon battle." Long Wuyo's eyes changed. After a long while, he said, "What do you want? Do you have the Sun Moon Mystic Yellow Liquid? I have some 5 element spirit fruits and some Heaven and Earth Mystic Light, but it's not enough. The Sun Moon Mystic Yellow Liquid is also not enough." Long Wuyo hesitated and said, "I have some, but he wants too much. Even if I have it all, it's not enough." The floating earth spirit took a deep breath and said, "It's okay. Try it. How much do you have?" 50 Heaven and Earth Mystic Light Wisps, 50 drops of Sun Moon Mystic Yellow Liquid. So little. The floating earth spirit was surprised, and Long Wuyo's expression turned ugly. Little? This was little. This was a lot. This was all in preparation for him to advance to Sun and Moon. Because the Starry Manor was about to open, everyone had the hope of making a big step forward, which was why he had so many treasures. He hesitated for a moment and said, "And a dragon blood fruit." The floating earth spirit calculated for a moment and said, "I don't have enough either." Long Wuyo suddenly interrupted, "Aren't you afraid that his cultivation technique is fake? You should be more careful. The humans are good at deceiving people. Su Yu used a fake cultivation technique to deceive all the races the last time. It's different. The floating earth spirit said in a deep voice, Su Yu should know the 5 elements divine art. After I was captured by him last time, I actually checked some things. Some of the cultivation techniques that Su Yu passed down in the humans, such as the primordial spirit art, might be a remake of the 5 elements divine art, but they were not complete. Among the 5 elements, I've shown it to the elders of my clan. There might only be 2 elements. If Su Yu gave it to Bai Feng, gave it to the 5 elements, and opened 180 divine apertures, the possibility is very high. As for Lu Hong, he might really have it. Long Wuyo glanced at him. The floating earth spirit. What he wants isn't a small amount. The cultivation technique is real, and the 5 elements clan will do anything. Long Wuyo stopped persuading him. He only felt that there was just a little bit of coincidence. However, he soon stopped caring about it. The fortune of a genius was prosperous. The floating earth spirit was known as the hope of the 5 elements clan, so it was entirely possible for him to encounter the 5 elements divine art by coincidence. This was the fortune of a genius. Soon, the two of them pieced together a lot of treasures. Soon, the floating earth spirit disappeared on the spot. He wanted to pretend to be a member of the heaven hunting pavilion before the white-masked man arrived. No, he was also a member of the heaven hunting pavilion. He wanted to use his identity as a member of the heaven hunting pavilion to trade with the other party in advance and intercept the heaven hunting pavilion. Everything happened without anyone knowing. No one knew that he was the one who took the items. Of course, Long Wuyo knew. However, Long Wuyo was not easy to kill. Killing Long Wuyo would cause too much of a commotion. Otherwise, he would have really killed Long Wuyo to silence him. Unfortunately, this was in the Sea of Stars, and the Dragon Realm was nearby. If this matter was blown up and everyone knew about it, then there would be no matter about the 5 Elements clan. Not long after, Lu Hong said angrily, "Enough. If you can't take out what I want, then get lost." The Heaven Hunting Pavilion is known as the #1 organization in the heavens, and I don't want much. You've been pestering me again and again. Are you trying to kill me and seize this thing? The floating earth spirit that had just appeared. His voice was ethereal as he said, "Lu Hong, I've already applied with the elders for 100 drops of the sun-moon profound yellow liquid, 50 spiritual fruits of the 5 elements, and 100 strands of heaven and earth profound light. This is already the limit. You are insatiably greedy and may end up with nothing. These treasures are enough for you to cultivate to the peak of the sun-moon and even the sun-moon. I have brought all the things here. If you are willing to trade, we can do it now. If you are not willing, are you sure you want to go to the ancient city? Other than selling to the Heaven Hunting Pavilion, who else can you sell it to? Could it be Su Yu?" Lu Hong said coldly, "Scram, I don't have it at all." "Lu Hong, what's the point? The treasures that you have in your hands can only be converted into strength. Only then will you be able to fight for more. The Starry Sky Mansion is about to open. If you don't raise your strength now, you will have nothing. If you miss this opportunity, you can wait another 10 years. 10 years is enough to change everything." Lu Hong frowned and said hesitantly, "I don't trust you. I'll give you the things. My strength is inferior to yours. If you kill me again, then everything I've planned will be for naught." The floating earth spirit was somewhat anxious. If it was something else, he would not be anxious. However, this was the 5 elements divine art. This matter was too big. If this thing was obtained, if it was useful to the 5 elements clan, then it was not impossible for the 5 elements clan to rise again. In the history of the 5 elements clan, there was a record that the 5 elements clan had once combined into one. It was also one of the overlords of the heavens. Unfortunately, the 5 elements were separated later on and the cultivation method was incomplete. This resulted in the decline of the Five Elements clan. He was very anxious. However, he pretended that nothing had happened and said coldly, "Then what do you want?" Lu Hong frowned and said, "How about this, we go to the entrance of the ancient city to make the transaction. After the transaction is completed, I will enter the ancient city. You go your own way and break up. Neither of us will publicize it. Otherwise, Su Yu will definitely not let us off." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2338. 2338 Chapter 507 Su Yu's Inheritance Chiu Subscribe, 6. How can I do that? Fu Tu Ling cursed in his heart. If the Heaven Hunting Pavilion members really came, wouldn't I be exposed? He gritted his teeth. Behind the mask, his face had turned ashen. He quickly said, "Do you have the item with you?" "No." Lu Hong said coldly, "Am I an idiot? Waiting to be killed by you?" As he said that, Lu Hong said in a low voice, "There's nothing here. It's only in my memories. As for my memories, once I'm forcefully searched by someone, my sea of consciousness will explode. If you give me something, I'll write it down for you. It'll be done very quickly. Believe it or not, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion has many unrivaled experts. Your people are everywhere. I think that you guys can also tell a thing or two. I don't have to offend your Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Then write it down from memory. I want to verify it." Lu Hong sneered, "Am I stupid? I only know how to trade outside the ancient city gate. I don't care whether I do it or not." The floating earth spirit cursed again. Soon, he said in a low voice, "Well, let's go to the ancient city quickly. This place is not safe. I'll take you there. Let's go faster." Lu Hong seemed to be a little hesitant. The floating earth spirit cursed in his heart. What's there to hesitate about? Let's hurry up. While the Heaven Hunting Pavilion fellows aren't here, hurry up. Lu Hong hesitated for a moment before saying once again, "It's useless even if you kill me and kidnap me. We don't have money to talk about anything else. That won't happen. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion only cares about benefits. Their reputation is guaranteed by the heavens." Lu Hong hesitated for a moment before quickly. He nodded and said, "All right, then I'll go with you. I've already said it. If you dare to play any tricks, I'll die a horrible death, and you'll die a horrible death." Su Yu won't allow his cultivation technique to wander about outside. So much nonsense. I can't wait for the battle to end as soon as possible. No one will know. The floating earth spirit was too lazy to talk nonsense. He picked him up and quickly flew toward the ancient city to hide his tracks. He was afraid that the Heaven Hunting Pavilion fellows would see him. As he flew, the floating earth spirit's speed was also pushed to the limit. Soon, the ancient city was in sight. Not long after, his voice transmission talisman vibrated slightly, and the floating earth spirit quickly opened it. Long Wuyo sent a message, "Hurry up. I seem to have sensed the fluctuations of that fellow from the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. He might be coming soon." Damn, so fast. The floating earth spirit was anxious. He quickly brought Lu Hong to the gate of the ancient city of Xinghong. At this moment, there were people coming and going. They did not pay much attention to him and Lu Hong. Recently, people from the Heaven Hunting Pavilion and the human race had come, so it was not surprising. The floating earth spirit did not dare to delay. He quickly said, "Write it down. The things are all in the storage ring." Lu Hong frowned and said, "I'm not at ease. I want to check the goods. I lied to you. All of you invincible will come and kill me. You lied to me. I can't do anything to you. I'm afraid of death, so I won't lie to you. But you. I don't believe it. The floating earth spirit cursed in his heart and could only open the storage ring for him to inspect. Look carefully. The items are all here. Only then did Lu Hong feel at ease. He took a deep breath and looked at the ancient city. Gritting his teeth, he said, "All right. However, we had an agreement before. Within 10 years, you are not to disclose your cultivation technique to the public. We'll talk about it after 10 years. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble." "Definitely." Lu Hong quickly began to write on a jade talisman. As he wrote, he transmitted his voice, "You guys have made a huge profit. If I really dare to auction this cultivation technique, the value will definitely exceed imagination. Unfortunately, sigh, I don't dare to auction it." He quickly finished writing and threw out the jade talisman in his hand. "I've set up a barrier. Don't open it for 10 seconds, or it will explode. You can only open it after 10 seconds, if you believe it, then trade. If you don't. That's it." At this moment, the floating earth spirit's voice transmission talisman vibrated again. "He's coming soon." The members of the heaven hunting pavilion were really coming. The floating earth spirit didn't have time to think about it. He felt a little aggrieved. After thinking about it, forget it. This fellow probably didn't dare to deceive the heaven hunting pavilion. The assassin organization of the heaven hunting pavilion was no joke. He directly threw out his storage ring and took the jade talisman. He said in a low voice, "I hope that the transaction will be pleasant. Otherwise, the heaven hunting pavilion won't let you off." Lu Hong took the storage ring and said calmly, "Of course. I'm not an idiot. Moreover, you guys came to me on your own accord, not me. Would there be any benefit in lying to you?" As he said that, he took the storage ring and directly entered the city. He turned around and said, "I hope this is the last time we meet." After saying that, he disappeared from the ancient city. The floating earth spirit quickly disappeared from where it was. Not long after, a white-faced person descended and looked around. Very quickly, he disappeared again. As for Lu Hong who entered the city, he felt like his heart was about to explode. F***ck. In this heavenly battlefield, swindling money is an astronomical figure. F***ck, he can really swindle so many people. I finally know why Suyu can swindle so many people. The 10,000 clans are all very stupid. People who are stupid have a lot of money. Lu Hong secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Once he entered the city, that was good. Later, he would leave the city. That white-faced old man was still waiting for his share of the spoils. It was too difficult to do some business. Lu Hong panted. He was scared to death. I can't do this again next time. I've made a fortune this time. Next time, I won't do this. I'll hide first. The Five Elements clan is not to be trifled with. 5 Elements Divine Art. He muttered in his heart. F***ck, I've only heard people say that. I hope that you can read the fake 5 Elements Divine Art for a while longer and study it properly. Ever since Suyu opened the door to cheating for him, Lu Hong realized that in this world, it was better to cheat than to fight to the death. Only by being a cheat could one become rich. Would there be any benefits from looking at those invincible people who fought back and forth? It was still a way of swindling that would last for eternity. Sure enough, this kid Suyu still had some ability. His swindling methods were much better than his own. He still had to continue working hard. Lu Hong entered the city. Not long after, he quickly escaped outside the city and went to look for the white-masked man to split the loot. Meanwhile, in the city, Suyu frowned slightly. Beside him, Elder Wang said in a low voice, Lu Hong made a deal with a white-masked man. I saw that he got a storage ring. I'm afraid that there are quite a lot of treasures inside. This guy couldn't have sold something to the heaven hunting pavilion, right? He escaped very quickly. Should I get someone to stop him? When he left, I left some marks. Su Yu frowned. Trade, what did he trade with the heaven hunting pavilion? Okay, I got it. I'll go check it out myself later. Why did this guy come to my territory? I still have unfinished business with this guy. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2339. 2339 Chapter 508, Fellow Taoist 1. Lu Hong. Su Yu muttered. This guy actually came to trade with the heaven hunting pavilion? What was there to trade with him? Su Yu lightly tapped on the table and muttered, Lu Hong. The last time he left, this guy was deceiving those invincible descendants. Up until now, he had not been beaten to death. It could be considered that his luck was prosperous. Not only that, he even entered the yellow roll. To be honest, this guy was worthy of the identity of those geniuses. Bai Feng's generation was known as the golden generation below Lu Wenyan and the others. There were still many talents. Of course, now it seemed that their strength was slightly weaker, such as Huang Teng, Xia Yuan and the like. Su Yu was actually a little curious about this guy. How many divine literature battle techniques did that guy have? He said that he was Zhang Ruoling's successor. Su Yu didn't believe it. He had asked Lu Wenyan and the others, but they all said that they didn't know. Since that was the case, if Zhang Ruoling really wanted to pass on his inheritance before he died, he wouldn't have kept Lu Wenyan and the others in the dark. Multiple divine arts inheritance, it wouldn't come for no reason. Su Yu pondered for a moment. This fellow only had a few inheritances. South Boundless, Cloud Chen, 10,000 Heavenly Saints, Xia Longwu, Lord Xia. Of course, if it was from another academy, then it would be another story. The origin of the multiple divine arts was the Great Xia Civilization Academy, but that didn't mean that only the Great Xia Civilization Academy had it. Su Yu looked outside the city and fell into deep thought. He didn't care if Lu Hong had made a deal or not. He was only thinking. This fellow knew that he was in the ancient city, yet he didn't hide his appearance and just entered the city like that. Although he ran away, he wasn't afraid that he would discover him. Deal with him? Lure me out of the city. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. He did it on purpose. Then, he lured me out of the city and then ambushed me. It wasn't impossible. This guy wasn't a good person. Su Yu turned his head and glanced at Xing Hong. He hesitated for a moment and quickly gave up looking for Xing Hong. This big brother liked to act cool. It was a rule that he couldn't look for him. He had to look for Yun Xiao. He had to get Yun Xiao to accompany him out of the city and protect his path. He had to see what Lu Hong was up to. If he was plotting against him, bringing Yun Xiao should be enough, right? If it wasn't enough, he had to summon Hong Meng's old turtle in time. Lu Hong. Xingyu residence. He captured the impersonator Lu Hong. Su Yu rubbed his chin and quickly shook his head. This wasn't right. This fellow was also a troublemaker. He had offended many people, and it would be easy for others to notice him. If he wanted to impersonate someone, he had to find someone that no one would pay attention to. Perhaps it was best if he wasn't human at all. However, Lu Hong was of some use. Su Yu's eyes flickered, and he instantly disappeared on the spot. He went to look for that fellow. Outside the city, Lu Hong kept changing his appearance. As for the 5 elements bug left behind by the floating earth spirit, it had long been burned by him. He had deliberately pretended not to notice it before. When he ran far away, this fellow also took out a black mask and put it on. It was the black mask of the heaven hunting pavilion. A moment later, he met up with a white mask. Without wasting any time, he threw out a storage ring and said, "In the short term, let's not do anything else. We should hide wherever we can." The 5 elements race is not to be trifled with. No problem. The white mask looked at the harvest and saw that it was not small. He immediately smiled and said, "Let's go. You can pray for yourself. He doesn't know my identity, but he knows yours." Then he said, "Next time there's such a deal, call me." "Okay." The white-faced man instantly disappeared. Lu Hong didn't delay and quickly ran into the distance. He had made a huge profit, and it was enough. He had finished fishing this time, so it shouldn't be a big problem for him to cultivate to the sun and moon, right? And at this moment, a huge hand covered over. The huge palm contained a large amount of divine runes mixed with some divine runes attacks. Lu Hong's expression changed, and just as he was about to resist, a powerful qi and blood shook the void, making him feel a bit suffocated. The divine text was instantly scattered. The huge hand covered the sky. Lu Hong raised his head to look at the sky, and his expression changed again and again. He hurriedly said, "Suyu, let's talk about this." Boom! With a loud sound, the huge hand covered the sky fell, and with a bang, he was sent flying. In the next moment, the huge hand clenched tightly, and with a creak, it grabbed him into the palm, making Lu Hong's tongue crazily spit out. "Suyu, I'm here to help you. Don't misunderstand, Creak. The hand clenched tightly, causing Lu Hong's blood to surge. Green smoke was rising from his head. Suyu walked out from the darkness and said calmly, "My teacher taught me that there's no need to say anything when dealing with you. I'll talk after I've beaten you. My teacher has competed with you for many years, but it seems like he has never lost before." Lu Hong had deceived many people, but he had never gotten any benefits from Bai Feng. This was because when Bai Feng dealt with him, he only had one philosophy. He would just give him benefits, and if he didn't give him benefits, he would just fight. After the fight, he wouldn't admit his debt, and they would continue to work together. As for making Bai Feng pay for it himself, forget it. Firstly, he didn't have it, and secondly, even if he had it, he wouldn't pluck it out. Suyu wasn't surprised that Lu Hong had recognized him. He had used the soul-expanding art, and this fellow knew him. Besides him, no one else would suddenly attack him. "Suyu, I'm really here to help you, really, Bang! With a loud bang, one of Suyu's huge fingers flicked on his forehead, causing him to feel dizzy and dizzy. A moment later, Yun Xiao appeared, holding a white-faced man in his hand. He smiled and said, "You're too weak. There's no trap. You're not going to let me out just to catch this kind of small fish, are you?" A white-faced man at the peak of the mountain and sea realm was not considered weak. However, to Yun Xiao, he was too weak. Suyu smiled and said, "Sir, it's just an excuse for you to come out and walk around, so that Lord Xinghong won't be jealous. Can I really trouble you to catch a mountain and sea realm? I can settle it myself." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 2340. 2340 Chapter 508 Kindred Spirits 2. Yun Xiao immediately revealed a satisfied smile. "Not bad. Promising. So that's how it is. It seems that this Suyu still knows how to conduct himself. Not bad at all. As I said, after coming to a mountain and sea, Suyu actually called me out. It's a little overkill. Yun Xiao is still a little unhappy. Such a weak thing, and you also called me out. Did he really think that being invincible was worthless?" Now that he heard it, he felt that Suyu was too good at being a person. Yun Xiao smiled and said, "Very good. Next time there's such trouble, call me at any time. I've seen that there are no ambushes around." Then Suyu smiled and said, "My lord, please do as you please. You can go back in 3 hours. Recently, I have more time to cultivate. Otherwise, my lord, you can go out as you please. Yun Xiao smiled again. Very good. I like city lords like you. It suits my heart very well. She did not stand on ceremony and quickly said, then I will go and take a look from afar to prevent someone from ambushing you from thousands of miles away. After saying that, she disappeared. Suyu had a smile on his face, but he was speechless in his heart. This excuse was too careless. Ambushing me from thousands of miles away? To think that you would say such a thing. He grabbed Lu Hong, who was in a daze. Beside him, the white-faced man was knocked unconscious by Yun Xiao. Suyu laughed, grabbed the two of them, and instantly disappeared from the spot. City Lord's manor. Lu Hong woke up and was a little dazed. He looked up and saw that Suyu was drinking tea in the large hall. There were only the two of them in the large hall. When Lu Hong woke up, he was immediately shocked. He looked at his storage ring. Fortunately, it was still in his hand. He hurriedly said, Suyu, I don't have any deep hatred with you. In the Great Xia Mansion, I actually helped you many times. I gave you the will of the heaven-breaking massacre. I also knew that you lied to me about the divine literature merit points. I didn't expose you. He hurriedly said, I was just passing by the ancient city. It was nothing. You ambushed me out of the blue. Suyu, we are of the same lineage. I am also teacher Zhang Ruoling's disciple. We are actually of the same generation. Suyu looked at him silently. After a long while, he smiled and said, have a cup. Lu Hong was not in the mood to drink tea. He laughed dryly and said, Suyu, I. Bang! A hammer smashed down. Lu Hong did not even have time to react before he was knocked unconscious again. Suyu's voice faintly sounded in his ears, my teacher is right. When dealing with you, don't talk too much. Actually, I also like to say that I like to reason with people. I use my emotions to reason with them. However, I know that 90% of what I say is a lie. 10% of it is true. Suyu drank his tea slowly, not panicking. The same type of person. He was actually very similar to Lu Hong. Or rather, after arriving at the Great Xia Civilization University, he had learned some things from Lu Hong, such as doing evil things with a bright smile. For example, lying through his teeth. For example, Suyu had always felt that he was actually a good person. Many of the bad things he had done were learned from some fellows at the Great Xia Civilization University. In the Great Xia Civilization University, there were too many sinister and despicable people. Lu Hong could be considered one of the best. In his teacher's closed-door cultivation, he had no backing, no background, and he was in the mixed single divine literature department. However, this fellow was like a fish in water, and he had some redeeming qualities. Suyu continued to drink his tea. A moment later, Lu Hong's eyes regained their clarity. Just as he was about to open his mouth, with a bang, a hammer smashed down. He fainted again. After a while, Lu Hong's eyes regained their clarity. This time, he pretended to faint. With a bang, another hammer smashed down. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Hong opened his eyes and quickly shouted, what on earth are you trying to do? Suyu smiled and said, don't speak, don't pretend to faint. In this ancient city, I control everything. As for your excuses, I'm too lazy to listen to them. It's meaningless. Lu Hong was silent as he stared at Suyu, feeling a little depressed. Suyu continued drinking the tea. In the tea leaves, the heaven's origin energy was boiling. As Suyu drank, he smiled and said, Teacher Lu, let me ask you something. Where did you learn the divine literature battle technique? My teacher, Zhang Ruoling. Pine. He was knocked unconscious. After 7 to 8 minutes, Lu Hong felt a splitting headache. When he opened his eyes again, Suyu smiled and said, where did you learn it? I Am really Jean Ruoling Lauscher. Pine. He was knocked unconscious again. Lu Hong had a stomach full of words that he wanted to say, but before he could, he was knocked unconscious. Su Yu was familiar with dealing with people like Lu Hong. He was too familiar with him. I only believe what I want to believe. If I don't want to believe it, I don't want to hear it. After a while, Lu Hong woke up. He hurriedly said, "Don't smash it anymore. If you smash it again, my sea of consciousness will collapse." I said, all right. I learned this divine literature battle technique from teacher Yun Chen. I'm a spy arranged by the Myriad Clan cult. Of course, in reality, it was teacher Yun Chen who arranged the contact. Su Yu looked at him with a faint smile. Are you sure that I won't ask Yun Chen? Really? Lu Hong said sincerely, at this point, why would I lie to you? Su Yu, I really didn't lie to you. Su Yu smiled. Forget it, if you don't say it, you won't say it even if I smash you to death. It's meaningless. You just made a deal with someone, who did you lie to? I didn't. Bang! He was knocked unconscious again. After a while, Lu Hong opened his eyes and said weakly, don't be like this, I was your teacher, right? You're going too far. Su Yu smiled and said, who did you lie to? The floating earth spirit. Su Yu was surprised and couldn't help but laugh. How did you lie? Lu Hong was helpless. He explained, it was an accident. It really was an accident. I didn't expect to encounter it. I just happened to know that the Five Elements divine art has some relationship with the Five Elements clan. It seems that the Five Elements clan has been trying to find this thing. The Five Elements are one. I saw that primordial spirit art that you passed down had a hint of the Five Elements, so I just casually lied to it. I didn't expect that, he was too easy to lie to.